Hey everyone, what's going on? This will be a show to remember. Let me as everyone joins in to the conversation, you're going to be pleasantly surprised and enlightened. Perhaps we'll have a few women join in on this discussion. We'll definitely have one woman as my guest. I need to set this up. Let's see. Hey Mo, what's going on? Thanks for joining, man. Am I coming through loud and clear for everyone? Let's see. What do we have here? Am I coming through clear? Can everyone hear me? This is going to be a show that some of you may have your own thoughts about it. But I like sticking to the facts and providing proof and evidence. So I want to do that. I want to do a show with some real evidence instead of my opinion. Cool. Thanks, Mo. Hey, Reg, what's going on? Thanks for joining, everyone. Having a little afternoon mix here. And I'm going to have a guest, very interesting. I think I only had one guest on a live stream, so we're going to make that work. So we're talking about men and women. Really, what do they want? So if you guys, anyone read the write-up I have, I talked about how as men, we've been told to be sensitive and show a feminine side and listen to what women have to say. But do we really know who women are listening to? How are they assessing us? Do we ever really understand what's driving a woman's motivation? We're told all the things that we have to do for women. And then we wonder why their behavior is erratic and it's confusing. And do they want what they want? You guys may have heard me talk about a focus group that Sony did back when they had their Walkman in the early days, and they had only black Walkmans, and they wanted to see would people buy the yellow Walkman. So they put together a group of people and said, hey, do you think people will buy this yellow instead of the black? And most people in the focus group said, oh yeah, everyone's going to want the yellow one. And after they asked them some more questions, they said, hey, to thank you, you can take your own Walkman. There are two tables. On the right is the yellow Walkman. On the left, there's a black one. And most people took the black one, even though most people said everyone's going to want the yellow one, but what they really wanted. So that kind of story is exactly relevant because we're told all these things that women want, but what they really end up taking doesn't always look like what we were told they will want. they wanted. And so that ends up confusing everyone. It confuses the women. They're not getting what they want. They end up resenting men because they say men are not being men. So we've got all this confusion going on. And, you know, I want to make a bigger point here. I know I speak about relationships. If you guys have looked at any of my early videos, they are strictly about business, about leadership, about transforming culture in a company, about transforming self. They are all about power as a leader. So if you haven't seen those, you might want to check those out. And if there's something you'd like me to do a live stream on one of those videos, I'd be happy to do that. And I say that because the good PJ, excellent, right, exactly. They don't want what they say they want. They choose something else. So, so I'm saying something. We live in a world with men and women, except I would say there's two things you want to master in life. And number two is your craft. Like I'm really strong on saying master your craft. That's why I'm telling you that I have videos about leadership, because that is my craft, running companies, advising executives. So number two is master your craft. The number one thing you want to master is yourself. And that's, you know, I don't know how to say how important that is, because that will affect everything in your life when you master yourself. And since this topic is about, I have cavemen, the thumbnail has a caveman, and I'm saying that women secretly want the caveman. Even the caveman mastered his craft. Like whoever invented fire, right? I bet that guy was able to get a lot of women when he invented fire and said, "I'll keep you warm." And then the guy who invented the wheel, you know, and if he was able to do something with the wheel and move things around easily, may have had his own Fred Flintstone car to move a woman around. So those guys would have mastered their craft. And mastering your craft gives you access to many things: wealth, freedom, vacations, things that you can enjoy, food, exercise, all those things. So mastering your craft is important. I don't want to speak too long because I want to bring in a guest. And some of you may be familiar with her. You may have seen her on our talk show on Sundays. She was a guest there before. She's the founder of a company called Hearts Exclusive Matchmaking. So she's a matchmaker, and she primarily focuses on matchmaking for men. Those are her clients. You guys have probably already heard, like, the woman Rebecca Lynn Pope say that she doesn't do matchmaking for women, because you've probably heard it. The way women choose and their criteria, sort of like what PJ said, the moral is people don't want what they say they want. They claim they want all these things, and it's not always what they want. Or they may not be prepared for what they claim to want. So her name is LeTisha, our guest today. She's going to be joining me on the live stream. Her name is LeTisha Underwood. And she calls in often on our Straight Talk Sunday and always offers a woman's perspective. And she and I talked about this topic. So I'm calling it Confessions of a Lady. She tells why women secretly still love the caveman. As much as we hear about men should be sensitive and all these feminine traits that they've tried to impose on men, find your feminine side, and all this stuff that ultimately women don't even want. The caveman still wins the day with just fire. So, and in this video, share this. Get some guys on here who are afraid to be cavemen all the men that you know, whether you call them a simp or the guy who really does have it together, you know, this is partly about mastering yourself. It's not just about being a caveman for the woman. It's about being a caveman to have a life that you really want for yourself. I mean, that's you could say that would be a way to live the caveman way. You hunt, you eat, you have sex, you make kids, you enjoy your life, and you live the caveman way. Men are minimalist. Dave, what's going on? Thanks for checking in, man. So, cognitive dissonance. That's, I think, well, in general, I think a lot of people experience that. And yes, women get that. And I would say a big reason women experience so much cognitive dissonance is because they are taught what they are supposed to want from life. Now, we all are, except the ad agencies. People don't realize how much the advertising agencies have invested in psychologists, anthropologists, and sociologists to create ad campaigns. And if you notice, most of them are really focused on women, and they've done a great job of convincing, manipulating, persuading women to want and do things that may even defy human nature. So then when women are confronted with the actual reality, then cognitive dissonance plays a huge role in that. So, LeTisha, can you hear me loud and clear?
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
No, you're welcome. You're welcome. My pleasure. Let me just give a cognizance. Yeah, faceless man. Yeah, social media. Yeah, it does create a false sense of security. So, LeTisha, we're going to talk about men being men and what women really want in some ways. So you are going to maybe even say some things that will have women upset with you. So I don't want the hit squad coming after you all because of me. So I'm going to give you the opportunity to bail out.
No, I'm good. I've already been introduced to the hit squad in some groups on social media, so I'm just going to accept it and take it for what it is and just continue to say what I have to say. So
All right.
They don't like it. That's on them, not me.
So you're going to be all right with the women calling you a pick-me, and what are the other names that they have?
That's the main one. It's mostly pick me, and then it's it's either that or it's just nasty language that they use, being very combative. So contrary.
All right. So so you have a profession that deals with relationships. What do you do?
So I am a professional certified matchmaker and a dating specialist. I specialize in helping men who are more traditional minded in their values, who are professionals, who have a business or entrepreneur. I help them find their happily ever after for a long-time relationship or a marriage. And I also offer dating advice for singles who are trying to maneuver in the dating market.
Okay. And your clients, men, women?
So my matchmaking clients are men, and my date coaching clients are men and women. They range from, the date coaching ranges anywhere from the ages of 21 and up. Matchmaking, my average client is 45. That's the average age.
Okay. All right. And so as far as matchmaking, why men instead of women? Like women really, they want to have a relationship. They want to find Mr. Right. So it would seem they would want to pay someone who can match them up. Why not women?
Well, women are the overall majority who are more inclined to use a matchmaker, I prefer men based on my Christian values. I believe men find wives and not the other way around. And then also I've come to realized that women are difficult. Women.
Oh, wait, come on. You're just exactly. Nah, someone's going to think I paid you to say that. How
No,
can you say women are
no, no,
difficult?
no, no.
Come
Listen,
on.
as a woman, I've known this all my life. Just how women can be very catty, the women can be very shady, women can be very messy. But I've always seen it directed at other women. So it was par for the course that women were going to naturally be this way towards other women. But then once I started my company and just seeing how women are towards men, um, yeah, no.
Wait, I'm confused. What do you mean how women are towards men? I
Women,
thought women, like, you have a sign in back of you that says love. I thought that's what women are, loving and nurturing. What do you mean?
well, there are two types of women, and I'm one of those women who is loving and nurturing. I love men. I have a healthy relationship with men, but for the overall majority of women, I can't say majority, but there are a lot of women who are, they seem to have an issue with men. It's, you want to think that they like men, they say they like men, but their actions and their words say otherwise. And then there's women who just outright hate men.
Yet
So
they
those are
still.
women they're difficult, and I don't have time to waste to deal with all that. So I just opt not to have women as clients.
Wait a second. You're saying that there are women who want to be matched up with a guy and they appear as though they hate men.
I'm not saying that they want to be matched up. What I'm saying is when I come across and hearing women who so as a matchmaker, I go into a lot of single groups on social media.
Okay.
And these women are always complaining about how they can't find a man, can't keep a man, all the problems they have with men. And then once you start engaging them, once I start engaging them, it just seems as if they really just do not like men altogether.
Really?
Yes.
Do they ever get upset with you for discovering that?
Yes. I've been kicked out of a few. I've been blocked in one social group. They won't let me post anymore. And I was kicked out of another one.
All right.
Yeah.
So you're popular. So maybe some of your female fans will find you here and
No.
have some words for you.
Oh my goodness, probably so. I would little sycophants, probably so. Well,
All
not
right.
sycophants, the little trolls. That's what I call them, trolls.
So what about your own personal, I'll call it, transformation in how you see men? So, you were born and raised in the US, right?
Correct.
Okay. So I think it's difficult for a woman in the US to not have been touched by feminism. Even if a woman says that wants nothing to do with feminism, somehow in the media, in your education system, your older, your mother, grandmother, aunts, sisters, somewhere a woman gets exposed to it, like it or not. Even the guys do. So it's almost like it gets infused into your blood, right? And you don't even know it, right? So, are you a feminist?
Absolutely not.
Why not?
I believe that the purpose for a woman is for man. That's what we were created for. That is based in my Christian values.
Okay.
We are meant to be man's helpmeet and to serve our husbands. Um, I do not believe that men and women are equal. While we can engage in the same activities and do some of the same things, we're not equal. Men are physically more dominant than women. There are a lot more that they can do that we cannot do. I just feel like women need men to survive. Men don't necessarily need women to survive. Um, So just the overall ideal of feminism removing men, trying to remove men from the picture altogether, I reject. I do believe that we need men. Women need men, and it's okay to want a man and want a man for the purpose of having a husband, being married, being a wife, and being a mother.
Are
Whereas
you Are you married?
I am divorced.
You're divorced. Okay.
Yes,
All right. So you have been married.
yes, I haven't.
All right. So you really do believe in marriage. So you married.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And you think men could actually survive without women?
Yes, I do.
And you said women couldn't survive without men.
No,
Women will be upset with you for saying that.
that's okay. That's okay. I mean, you can get mad. You don't have to like it, but a truth is a truth. And I think once women start recognizing that, then we can start fostering better relationships with, well, they can start fostering better relationships with men.
Okay. So you're not a feminist. So were you touched by feminism? Do you think it affected your mindset or the way you saw men in any way? Do you think it ever affected you?
Of course. I am an 80s baby. So I was basically born into feminism. So when I was born, feminism was just a way of life. You didn't even have to talk about it. You didn't have to put a label on it. You just operated in it without even knowing. Young girls are taught to go to school, get an education, to not depend on a man. If you desire a husband and want to stay at home and take care of your family, you're considered very weak. So while as a little girl, that's what I wanted, to be married, I wanted to have a family. I had to reject that in face of what not what the reality was, but what my social climate was. That was just completely unheard of and considered to be weak. So as I got older, I changed my mindset to think that I could be independent. I didn't need a man. I can go to school, get an education. So I had this dual mindset. Whereas on one end, I wanted a husband, I wanted children. I knew that my purpose was to be focused on my husband and my children. But how do you reconcile that with what society wanted of me, which was to be a working woman, have a career, make money, make something of myself, and then focus on marriage last, so men were put on the back burner. So the thought of marriage, having a family, is the last thing a woman should ever think about and want. And my mother, who I love dearly, while she doesn't consider herself a feminist, she has feministic ideals. And so as a young girl growing up where I was, that's just basically how it was. It wasn't anything, for me, it wasn't a gender war. It wasn't anything that I was taught to hate men, not to like men, because I've always liked men. I've always loved men, never had a real issue with them. But it was just more so just focusing on yourself as a woman, and men are expendable.
Well, wait, so if men are expendable and you say that women couldn't survive without them, someone asked the question, what makes you think women need men to survive and not the other way around?
Well, if you look at time, if you look at creation, everything that was created, everything that was created by men. While women have created things to make life easier for men, because we are wired to be nurturers, everything in society that we have that is fundamental to our well-being, our livelihood, was created by men. Man was here first, and then woman came. So fundamentally for me, it's based in my biblical beliefs and values.
So, I don't know if that fully answers the question. What you think women couldn't survive without us? Why? Just because men?
Women will.
I mean, women say they're independent; they can do it.
No. Women will kill each other. I mean, not kill each other, but we wouldn't get anything done. We would just not be able to get anything done. While women are good managers, women are not capable. I want to say capable, but it's like men know how to just take charge. For the most part, just know how to take charge and lead. So let's say you're on an island, you have a group of men, you're going to more likely select one man to be in charge and follow lead. It's going to have a whole different construct. It's going to be completely different. It's going to be disorganized. Chaos is going to ensue.
Well, that doesn't sound very nurturing. So maybe women are not as nurturing as we were taught, huh?
Women are nurturing when it comes to our husbands and children, but when it comes to one another, we can be very, very catty and very, very competitive amongst each other.
So
I'm
maybe
not trying to say that women are bad. I'm not saying that. It's just that the dynamic with women, when we're together, we're always trying to one up one another. If you look at a group of women, so look at the reality shows of TV and see how the women operate with one another and how the men operate with one another. You cannot get anything done when you have a group of women who are trying to organize something, because all they want to do is bicker and argue and focus on the small things, the insignificant things, whereas men are just trying to get something done. So I look at that as, if women were in society by themselves, while it wouldn't be a violent situation, it would be a chaotic and dysfunctional one. Whereas men, I think, while it would be a violent situation probably, but it would be very functional.
you know that doesn't sound very nurturing, right? I mean, we'll get back to that, but that just makes, I think that would make a lot of men wonder if by nature, if you put women on their own, they get to be whoever they want. They don't have to look caring for men. Their true nature comes out. That's a question. We'll deal with that a little later. So yeah,
women weren't created to be a nurturer. Women were created to be a helpmeet, but by being connected to a man, those qualities tend to come out, but it mostly tends to come out with our children and not so with our husbands. Not saying that we're not kind and considerate and love and take care of our husbands, but we are going to nurture our children in that way.
So, so maybe, so if you left women to their own, it would be one-upping and chaotic, right?
Yes.
And there are case studies, there are articles written where it actually did happen like that in companies, where an all-female company went out of business because of exactly that. And if men work with women, we can't talk about sex. When it's all women, man, they go into great detail about sex and all that. So they violate all the rules that they want to have. But here's the question then. So is it, and this is going to get us to our topic. So if women can be so chaotic on their own, is that just an indication that a man who is a man who comes in and tries to be nurturing and feminine and or effeminate or get in touch with his feminine side, it would seem like he would just get sucked into the female chaos, right? As opposed to a guy who comes in and puts his foot down and has more of a caveman demeanor to himself, will create instant order out of chaos.
That's correct.
Well, okay, so I'm getting a little ahead of myself.
Okay,
that sounds crazy because we're told machismo, you're told all these things. So
okay, so who told you? Who told you that women wanted nurturing, feminine? And then you have to describe to you what is feminine to you. That they want someone who is nurturing and in touch with their feelings. And yes, we heard that. We heard that in the movies. But who told you that in real life?
Oh no, they put that all over the television. They had women.
Yeah, I know. We all saw that's why you had the little rom-coms and the little movies like The Notebook that causes
no, not movies. I'm talking about women who were interviewed and psychologists, and they were like, they went on the Oprah show, and men are horrible beasts, and you need to get in touch with your feminine side, and women should be allowed to have their masculine side. We heard this for decades.
Yes, you are correct. So I mean, then you have to look at who was telling you these things and what was the purpose. So I get it. Men, we were hearing these things, but when you look at who was telling us, who was the main one? Were these women married women, or were these women feminists? Because when I was coming up, the most that I heard it from was, now that I can recognize it, was women who were feminists who weren't married, who were single, and they were telling other women that this is what you need. Men should get in touch with their feelings, talk to women, be a little more open. But I also think that that came out of a time where you had some men who were very, very domineering. And
I thought you just said women like that. I'm confused now.
women do like that, but there are some men who take it a little too far. There's a difference between being a man who is sure in his masculinity and his manhood, and a man who is capable of leading, versus a man who is abusive and who is controlling and who takes it too far. And so what he does is he causes that woman to now think of all men in a bad light, and so she starts spreading that to other women. And if you get it, and it, whether they experience it or not, you get enough women to agree to that, then you're going to get what you're seeing now.
Okay. So if you've been touched by feminism, and it's like you were just saying, the media is these single women who may or may not have been heterosexual. They're telling men how to be men. So when did you realize that wasn't in your best interest? Like, was there some epiphany you had that said, I don't want to be on that path anymore?
Well, me personally, I was never on that path where I wanted a feminine man who wanted to listen to me and be a little more in touch with his feminine side. That's one of the reasons why I'm divorced, is because gender role reversal started happening in my marriage. So, but I do know and recognize that that this year, was it this year or last year? So in starting to listening to your show, and I'm just going to put out there, Straight Talk, being part of that Facebook group, I came into that group.
Thank you.
And boy, oh my gosh. I was like, this is a bunch of haters, women hater. These men do not like women whatsoever.
The Heman Woman Club.
Because we're told that if a man is talking like this, these are not valid reasons. They just want to control a woman. They just want women to just bow down to them. So that's the mindset that I had. And I thought I was listening, but I wasn't listening. But just being in the group more, being receptive to listening, opening myself up to listening more, and then just being part of the radio show, Block Talk, listening, calling into that, and then just asking questions, having conversations with you. And then, you know, social media can open you up to a whole new world. So my outlook started changing once I started really getting into building up my business and having to interact with so many different women. Because the thing about women is we usually hang with women who are similar to us. Right. So when I hear men talking about these things about women, I'm like, well, I'm not like that. None of the women I know are like that. You guys are exaggerating. This is completely wrong. You guys just don't like women, and that's your issue and not mine. So then when I started engaging women who weren't like me, who weren't in my social circle, and it started happening more so this year because I'm not big on social media outside of I stick with my own personal page or my business pages, and that's it. But because I wanted to start marketing more, I had to start doing some research and opening and broadening to different type of women, and it was not a pleasant experience. So I'm like, wow, so this is what men are talking about. These are the women that men are talking about, that they're
What
just.
do you mean? Well, wait, guys, let's get the likes up. We're actually gonna get into this. We're gonna drill down a bit with her and get some real answers to some tough questions. So let's get the likes up, everyone. So I'm confused. So you initially thought that men were just He-Man woman haters, and they had a poor view of women, and they were kind of being unfair, right, in the way
Right.
they were addressing women. So I don't get it. Like, you're still a woman. Nothing changed. And you're talking about recent, like this year, last year.
Yes.
What could make that? Because women are pretty firm about, I know what I'm talking about, and I said what I said, all these things, and women are like, you can't make me, and men just want to control us. They fold their arms, even if it's just in their mind. They're like this. You can't make me. I'm the boss of me, and you're trying to control me. So how did you walked like you? Sounds like you abandoned that.
I wouldn't say I abandoned. I still.
So you still walk around. You still are like.
No. Okay, yes, I did. Okay, well, I see what you're saying. Well, for me, it was just engaging different women. So I keep my social circle very small, and I'm around like-minded women. Majority of my friends are married or in long-term relationships, including the women in my family. So I'm around women who treat men very well. So I don't really see outside of television really so much how these bad women operate. Until I had to I started going into these singles groups and trying to engage with the women and trying to, I deal with men on a consistent basis, so I know what they want. So in trying to talk to the women who are single and saying, hey, well, this is what a man wants. This is what a man desires. I don't have to do, well, the pushback is I don't have to do that. I don't want to do that. Well, why not? Oh, and then
wait a second. So you are speaking to single women and telling them these are the things you need to do to attract and keep a man, right?
Correct.
Basically, right? Yeah. So here are the things men really like. You need to do this. You need to present yourself. You need to have this kind,
Right.
I mean, unfortunately, not all women are going to have what you have. As we see here in the camera, we won't put too much emphasis on that, but it's pretty obvious, right?
Thank you.
You have twins that are screaming out at us in the screen. I guess you guys can see that, right? But anyway.
And no, I'm not an obese woman at all. So if anybody's in the chat saying she's probably fat and obese, no, I'm not.
Well, I'm not going to ask you to stand up, but anyway. So as you're telling women the things that they need to do, how are they responding? You're saying that they were embracing that?
No, not at all. They
Why?
rejected it out hand. They just don't see a problem with themselves. They just rejected it out hand. They became very combative, very nasty. And I'm trying to help you. And this is the attitude I get. And I'm like, wait, if you're like this with me, I can only imagine how you are with men. And so I started pushing more topics and conversations just to see exactly how they would respond. And they started responding just like I thought. And I'm like, I'm a woman who helps men. I'm dealing with men who are looking for wives, and I can't match any of you. If I wanted to, I could not put you with a man, because once you trigger a woman, once you say one thing I don't care how pretty she looks, I don't care how feminist she tries to say she comes off, but once you trigger her and you ask her something and she just goes off the handles. These women are crazy. I'm just gonna say they're crazy.
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. So that's a perfect place to be. So women are showing you they're crazy. They're triggered because you're telling them that what they're doing currently is inadequate, right? That's really what it comes down to, right?
Right.
And they're offended by that. So, and maybe part of the problem is that we live in a culture that says, well, men will screw anything. Men just need vagina and they'll be happy. And so if you believe that as a woman, now you're telling me I have to do more. I already have what it takes. Am I on the right path, or am I just off?
Well, they don't even want to do that.
They don't even want to have sex.
They don't even want to do that. I mean, they want to have sex, but they don't want to do anything for a man. That's the thing. They don't want to do anything for a man. They just want to do it for themselves. So the type of men that I match, I try to go into these singles groups to find women that will be suitable for them. So I match, my clients are professionals, they're doctors, lawyers, CEOs, vice presidents. So I go into these professional groups, and to see these professional, educated women act in the manner that they don't want to do anything for a man. They want to just do it for themselves, which I understand, but that's not what marriage is about. Marriage isn't just about you. It's about the other person. And if you can't find yourself being able to serve or submit or cooperate with your husband, you find that you get indignant over the thought of doing so. And when I tell them to do these are things that they want, they get, no, they're not having it. They don't want to do anything.
So then that leads me to a question. Have women only become this way because men allowed it, because they were trying to be so understanding and in touch with their feminine side? Is that how we've gotten to a point where women have said, almost like treating a man like a female peer, like I don't have to do anything for you?
I think it's twofold. I think for one, a lot of men have been raised by single mothers.
Okay.
And these single mothers have raised their boys into being the men that they wish they could have dated. Or they are so jealous of any other woman that they raise their boys into being difficult and not good for a woman. And I think that also that men, yes, they're inclined to now be trained to acquiesce to a woman. That if a woman doesn't like something, then a man has to be okay with that, which I think is completely wrong. If a woman is unhappy with something, that a man has to be okay with it. So everything is just all about the woman, and there's no focus on men. So
I hear what you're saying. I question whether this problem started before you had a huge population of single women, that men were acquiescing a long time ago, back in the days when they were told to get into their feminine side. Around the time that you were born, men had already started that. You have to give them a pass. You have to acquiesce.
I can see that, and then I would have to question how is that possible? Like how did that, like why? Like is it because you would know better than I do.
I don't know what that means, but
because from what I by the time I was born and growing up, I didn't get to see the beginning. I didn't get to see the transition, and I'm seeing a lot of men speak on that transition. So like even when I started in the group, it was like I was speaking from the time period that I only knew. And by the time I was born and growing up, it was just common. It was just something. It was just, you didn't think about it. You just operated in it. So I'm curious about the transition of when this started happening. What were men saying? What were men doing? How did it get to the point where men were just like, we're just going to tuck our tails, put our heads down, tuck our tails, and let women have their way?
Well, men thought that getting pussy was more important than anything else.
Okay.
That was part of it, right? That was a major part of it, right? So, okay. Hey man, if you stand up with the spine, you're never gonna have sex with her. You have to do these things. And men started one-upping one another. So he took you for a walk in a park. Well, I'll have a picnic in a park with you. And the next guy says, well, I'll buy you ice cream. Well, next guy, forget ice cream. I'll take you to the movies and buy you dinner. Well, I'll take you to France. So women started to think that they were entitled to that. And they allowed the men to compete for one another, and saw that men became so focused on the competing against one another that the women didn't have to do anything. So here you come saying, well, no, actually you have to do something. And they're like, well, no, they're going to do what they want for us regardless.
Just because, well, the times are changing now. Now that women are making money for themselves and they're getting education, they're getting degrees, they want men on a certain level. So there's always going to be men across all socioeconomic classes who are going to operate in that manner, but they're not as plentiful out here. So women are now trying to compete for a man at a certain level, and they don't want to do the work. These men are not trying to let you do what you want to do, and you get to run roughshod all over him and come with a bad combative attitude and think that you're going to be sitting there pretty living a good life. No, these men, I think the time has changed now to where men are really rejecting the notion of I have to do everything and you do nothing but bring a pretty face and sex.
Well, women started doing less and less. So, there was a time when the guy took her on a picnic, the woman prepared all the food, right?
Right.
There was a time where it was natural for a woman to say, hey, come to my place and I'll cook you a meal, right? So she did things, right? Women wrote letters to guy. They called the guy. Women, all the actions that it took to create a bond, women were very much in charge of that. They did the things to reel the guy in. Now the women are like, well, I'm the prize. And I think guys are seeing, well, that doesn't work. And maybe the situation never really did work and it just went too far.
Well, part of that problem is that those men were marrying those women who were doing that. Marriage was big. Marriage was pushed. So women already knew that in order to get married, you had to do certain things. And then there's such thing called social etiquette, dating etiquette. Those were just the norms. Then something shifted to where free love, women were trying to do all these wife type things, or being the way they operate in choosing a husband. They were operating that way for men who were not husband material, and then they were getting hurt. So then in that hurt, they transferred that hurt onto their daughters, and teaching their daughters that all men are dogs and you don't do this, you don't do that. Instead of teaching their daughters that, look, if you're going to do this, if you want to get married, this is how you operate, but you have to make sure you choose a man who is going to be receptive of that behavior, and he's going to marry you. But women just wanted to experience and be free and try to operate like a man and do like men do, and then they were trying to give all of this to the wrong type of man, and then someone down the line they kept getting hurt. And so now it's like, I'm not doing anything. I don't want to do anything because I have this fear that you're going to hurt me, even though sometimes it might be unfounded.
All made up in their head. One second. Manuel Life, hey, thanks for joining in, man. I see you, the scout. Thanks. And someone said something interesting. He said the crazy thing is very few of the women making money are actually financially sound. So the fact that they make money is mute. They can't keep it, don't invest it, and somehow are still in debt. And I was kind of getting to that in the beginning of this and saying that who's really, so women are telling men how to be men, except who's really telling women how to be women? And and if we look at that, 77% of purchases are being consumed by women. Women are the major consumers. So who is telling women that shopping is a sport and women love to shop? Like, it's the advertising agencies. And that's why I was talking about how what I researched going back as far as the 1940s, and it was well executed in the 1950s, how they convinced women to do things that one time women just wouldn't do. They felt guilty about it. So you can imagine from the 50s until, you know, what are we at, 70 years later, they've mastered getting women to think things they never wanted to think. And when you combine that, and when I say ad agencies, I'm also including movies. But we start little girls off with fairy tales like Cinderella and Snow White. So women are already being sort of programmed that this is how you're supposed to engage with a man.
Well, men are also telling you that, because what is the number one thing that men like in a woman? It is her looks. Men go for looks first, then they go for personality and character after that. Women recognize.
Wait, would you date an ugly guy?
Yes, I would.
You would date an ugly guy?
Yes.
Ugly. Like he's an ugly.
They're not ugly to me, but other people, you know.
No, he's just ugly. He's hands down. He's ugly. No one can refute
it. Listen, I had a boyfriend who they were like, "Man, why are you dating that monkey? You look like, you know, just." It was just. But to me, his personality outshined his looks. So, I mean, my ex-husband wasn't considered a, you know, very handsome, attractive man, but he was to me. So for me, attraction is measured completely different than most women. And I don't have a problem with men wanting to date a woman for how she looks. I completely understand it.
Wait, would you date a fat guy?
No, I would not.
Why not?
I would not.
Why not?
That's not attractive to me.
You all could share bras, right?
No, thank you. I don't want anyone whose breast the size of mine. No, thank you. It's just
why wouldn't you date a fat guy?
It's unattractive and it's unhealthy.
But so then it still comes down to looks.
Yes, it does. It comes down to looks on both sides. So. Okay.
So that's kind of moot, right? Like, let's not even talk about people.
No, but you're saying why women do all this stuff, the shopping and spending money. Women, what do women mostly spend their money on? It's now today in today's society, women mostly spend their money on makeup, hair, clothes,
shoes, right? Clothes,
right. All that, right?
Right.
You understand that men like attractive women, so we spend the money to try to broaden our chances of being chosen.
But isn't that false advertising?
No, that's always been the case.
Wait a second. Are you serious? Do you know guys have divorced women because they didn't see her without makeup until after he got married? Or this guy in China who sued his wife because she had plastic surgery and didn't tell him.
Okay.
There are all kinds of cases where, you know, they actually sue for false advertising.
But those are the extreme. Not everyone goes to that extreme. Not every woman goes to that extreme.
Wait a second. You all over Facebook, all over the internet, you see these women who go through absolute transformations. Okay, they go from looking hideous to looking attractive. They go from being a 2 on a scale of 1 to 10 to looking like a 7.
You are true, but overall, majority of women do not go to those extremes. Those are extreme cases. I'm not denying that happens. It's just that for the most part, women will spend money to try to improve their chances of finding a suitable match. That's why we spend money. So if the object is, well, women are spending money frivolously, well, you have to get to the root cause. If men did not focus so much on women's looks, then we wouldn't spend so much money on trying to improve our looks. Because
because what?
Because let's face it, I mean, no one really wants to be alone. I don't even care how independent she is or how she says she doesn't need a man. If she was truly happy without one, she wouldn't be complaining all the time about how she's independent and don't need a man.
So so independent women don't need a man, yet they spend a lot of money to see. We keep saying women are dressing up for men, and really it's just to one up the other woman. If men just happen to be a beneficiary, it's incidental, it's not intentional. And you and I have talked about that, because if women were doing it for men, when she gets her ass home and they're home alone, she would be dressing up like that. This pandemic is a perfect time. I bet you these women are walking around with rollers and bonnets and all kinds of ugliness. And the man is trying to figure out how he's going to divorce her when this pandemic is over because she won't dress up. But these women will be getting dressed up every single day for their husband, and they don't do that.
Okay, well, that is women of a lower socioeconomic class. That is true. But for the
you're saying that there are women who literally just get dressed up to be at home with their husband.
Yes, there are women.
Wait, in the chat, guys, tell me if you know of a woman. I want to hear in the chat. Do you know of, whether you know her personally or you heard of a guy married, or you lived with a woman, or you have an aunt or your mother, you know of a woman who dresses up just to be with her man and they're going nowhere? Tell me if someone has seen that.
Sorry, are you saying that women are just sitting around in their PJs and their bonnets all day? They're not getting showered. They're not putting clothes on?
I didn't say that. I'm saying that they don't get dolled up the way they do to go out.
Okay, I mean, that's different. Yes, of course, no one's going to get dolled up every day, but you're still going to look.
So why not? Because if women were really buying all these things for men, they would be at home married using that stuff every single day with their husband when it's just them alone. And that doesn't happen.
Okay, I mean, you can have your thoughts on it, but if it wasn't about getting a man, women wouldn't do it. That's why women who don't focus on relationships, they don't put as much effort, if not at all, into their looks because they're not focused on a man. A woman who puts effort into how she looks is focused on a man. Now, some women don't know how to go about doing it. And some women are delusional about themselves, but when it comes down to it, even though we recognize that we're competing against one another, and we are trying to increase our chances of attracting the man that we want, and so we know that there are certain things that we have to do in order to do it. At least a good amount of us know and understand that yes, if I want a good quality man, there's some things that I have to do to attract him.
Well, that's a bait and switch, because once they get married, they stop. They walk around all day with a mud pack on their face and a bonnet, and they got on a robe. I mean, but okay. We do have a guy. There's a guy, Manuel Life. He said yes, his mother. So Manuel Life, are you saying your mother gets dressed up just to be at home with your father? Go ahead. What were you saying? What were you saying?
Oh, me? Okay. Yeah. But to be honest, I don't see men wanting the plain Janes. I don't see them wanting them. I don't see them wanting the women who are a 2 and a 4 or whatever. I don't see men wanting those women. I don't even see them wanting the little cute girls who was just basically a little plain Jane, that she put a little makeup on, a little extra, add a little extra to herself. That wow, it's a nice transition. For the most part, women understand that men like attractive and beautiful women, and so they are trying to do that in order to attract a man. Because if that wasn't the case, you would see all the little plain Janes and the ugly women who are single, who have good personalities and all these great qualities about themselves. They wouldn't be single, but they're not getting picked because they're not attractive in the face or in the body. So if men don't want to get fooled, then you must first start with yourself and be honest with yourself and ask yourself, because not everyone is beautiful. Not every woman is pretty. Pretty is actually very uncommon. Majority of people in this world are not pretty, are not attractive. That's just the reality of it. So you have to ask yourself, if you have a problem with women wearing wigs, makeup, and doing all this extra stuff to attract a man, then are you really okay with being with a woman who is a 4 or who is not really all that pretty? I don't see men lining up to marry these women.
Who are 4s?
who are just not attractive at all.
Well, sure, the guys who are not attractive and don't have a lot of dough, that's who they marry. The problem is,
those guys don't even want those women.
well, if they have money, of course not.
No, the unattractive broke men, they don't even want the unattractive women. They don't want those either. I mean, I matchmake for a certain type of clientele, so my clients have a little money to them. But there are matchmakers who don't have who matchmake for the general average population, and those men don't want those women either. Those unattractive men who don't have any money or any resources, they don't want unattractive women either. So
okay. So we have a few interesting comments here. So only one guy said his mother dressed up to be at home. So I just, you don't hear about women who do that. So that has me question whether women are actually doing this for men. It's just it's a hook. It's bait. It's a bait and switch.
Well, when you get into a different socioeconomic class, you're going to see more women dressed up because that's just that social circle. That's what they do. But when you get in the working class, for the most part, let's be honest and fair, women just are not created to do as much as men are. We are not wired that way. I know women like to try to think we are, like to pretend that we are and tell women we can have it all. That's just not the case. So when she's working outside the home and then she's taking care of children, the last thing that's on her mind is trying to look pretty or look attractive for someone when she's in the role of provider too. So if she's in the role of provider, she's thinking, why do I have to do all this extra? You just have to accept me as I am, because we are in the same role. So when you're in a working class or less, yes, you're going to see more of the women just not caring about how they look when they're around their husbands. But the higher you get, you're going to see a lot more women who do like to get dressed, just even if they're just going to be at home.
Okay. So if she's allowed to be a stay-at-home mom, so the women in higher socioeconomic classes who have the luxury of choice to be at home or not, they are more likely to get dressed up. You're definitely more likely to be in the gym, right?
Correct.
Okay, I can see that. All right. Someone asked the question.
I'm scared about these questions.
Oh, I remember it. It was, why do women use their looks to attract men?
Because that's what men want. We just talked about that. That's what men want. If men didn't want pretty women, then lots of pretty women come with a different mindset. They come with a different attitude. Some come very entitled. Some are realistic around it. But for the most part, the most humblest and gentle, kind personalities, that the qualities that you want are going to come in women who are unattractive. But those women aren't getting married. Those women aren't even being asked out on dates. So if you're seeing that these women are not getting married, not getting asked out on dates, then isn't it fair to say that men want pretty women? And so women lead with their looks.
So someone asked a question which gets back to what I was just saying. If men want women for their looks, why do they walk around the house looking like Aunt Esther?
Well, you have to ask the man who chose that woman. He obviously was fine with her. So you would have to ask that man, but for the most part.
Wait a second. There are women who will walk around dressed in a way the man is turned off, and a woman has no clue he's turned off by it. Is that correct?
That's correct. And that means he needs to be vocal and honest about it. Yes, that's true. So I will admit that I was dating a guy and I would wear my bonnet. Now, granted, I was going through chemotherapy at the time. I was off and on a chemotherapy, so I just didn't feel the greatest about myself, and I wasn't thinking about him until I was on a call with family members, a video call, conference call with family members, and they're like, "You're around that man in your bonnet? Is that how you are?" I said, "Yeah, you don't mind." And it was like, I don't know, sis, you better ask. So then I asked him if he had a problem with the bonnet, and he was like, I don't like it, but that's, you're gonna do it. And once I realized, oh, he doesn't like it, then I stopped wearing it. But for the most part, a person can't read your mind. If you don't like something, you have to be vocal and tell that person that you don't like something. Just hope and trust that you have that relationship where she's not going to get offended and get triggered and go off. And I think that's what a lot of men are afraid of.
So someone said that's not true. Men like what they like. Men actually like a variety of women. All men aren't attracted to the same type of woman. Some like them small, some like them big, some like them short, some like, I guess that goes on.
I don't know what I said is untrue. It doesn't. Yes, men like men have a different range of what they like, but for all in all, men like attractive women. If a woman, I don't care if she's small, if she's a 2 in the face, she's gonna have a difficult time versus a girl who is more attractive who may have a bigger size figure than her. So I'm not denying that men like different things in a woman, but overall, men like attractive women. If that was not the case, then all these unattractive women who have all these great qualities and personality that men say they want, these women would not be single.
Okay, so I'm glad you brought up these great personalities. So when you were talking about the things that you're learning from from women on social media, it sounds like you're starting to see what men see. So the lots of women present themselves to their female friends and other friends as, I'm just so nurturing and loving. I'm such a good woman. I have great personality, even though I don't look great, but I may be a little overweight and I may be not this, but I'm worth. You hear women say, but I'm worth it, right?
Correct.
Yet when things don't go their way, or you're seeing when you say, hey, you're going to have to do these things. Imagine you're in a relationship and a guy says, I don't want you to wear that bonnet, or you're putting on some weight, or I don't like the way that dress is too provocative. What do these women do?
They lash out. They get
okay. So now a man is in a relationship with a woman who's a 2, 3, or 4, and she's lashing out.
Wait, what does her face got to do with it?
No. What I'm getting at is we try to say, well, she has a great personality, but when you get into a relationship, when you get a person in a relationship, or you start dealing with money, with finance,
okay,
a whole different person comes out. And their friends and family are shocked. Like, I never knew she was like that. She was just so loving. So I'm saying that a woman is not always a good indicator of whether another woman has a good personality, because it's the whole bait and switch. You're seeing it in the chat. Like the woman can dress nice and put on makeup and present one thing, but not only behind the physical makeup, behind the mask, the brain, the way her mind works, ends up being also she misrepresented that too. So a lot of women misrepresent themselves twice. First by looks, second by their personality is not as great as they see. And yes, they are a 2 and no one's choosing them, because whether it's social media or makeup or whatever has made them think that they have more to offer than what they actually do. And that becomes a whole problem by itself.
Yes, that is the case. I've seen that. I've seen women who had bad, just they just don't look the greatest, and they're wondering why they're getting picked, and then you try to tell them, and then the attitude comes out. Yes, those won't exist, but there are women who I've had guy friends who, wow, she's great and she's wonderful, but she's not attractive. So you have women who interact with men, and these men like their personalities. They have the qualities that they like. It's just that their face doesn't match the inside, and so they're rejecting. The women that I'm talking about, that I'm coming across on social media, are women who are relatively attractive in the face. They may have nice bodies, and they should be getting chosen. There should be no reason why they shouldn't be get chosen. But the reason why that is because their personality and their attitude sucks. So
Right.
I'm saying that if men truly, if it wasn't about looks, women understand for men it's about looks. It's about how good we look. Some women are just too lazy. They don't want to put in the work. Okay. But for majority of women, we understand that how we look, how we appear is what's going to attract a man. Men don't come up to us and saying, "Oh, Miss Lady, I like your personality. I want to take you on a date. I want to get to know you." No, the first thing they lead with is, "Wow, you have a beautiful smile, you have beautiful eyes, or you're beautiful, you're attractive. Can I take you out sometime?" They never lead with the personality. They wait until it's the personality and characteristics come after his first initial attraction, which there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's just how we are wired. Women are the same way, especially in this day and age, because now women can go out and make their own money. It doesn't matter whether they make a lot, whether they make a little, or how they are a good steward of their money or a bad steward. But the fact is, a woman now can go out and get a job if she needs money. Whereas back in the day, that was not the case. They took what they could get, which was very unattractive men who was going to be a provider and provide them with the things they needed to take care of themselves and the family. Today, that's not the case. So when you have men who are saying, well, women do too much to attract men as far as their looks. Well, I mean, yes, because for the most part, we understand that that's what men like. So is that on us? Is that we're recognizing that that's what men like? We understand that you want a pretty face, a nice figure, a good attitude, um, femininity, cooperation. Some men call it submission. Overall, you just want a woman who is going to serve you and follow your leadership without question.
Okay, so with all that said, here's what I hear. Human beings haven't evolved. We still want the same things that prehistoric people wanted. A woman wants protection and provision. Like, even with all the jobs and a high income and an entrepreneurship, women are still looking for basic animalistic things from a man. Protect me, provide for me. So we're back to being cavemen.
Yeah. I mean, that's
And
what we want. That's in deep down. I don't care how, unless she is a very dominating woman, a domineering woman. She wants a man who is more feminine in his traits. She can handle a man who is not like a caveman. But for a majority of women, we have, especially in Generation X and later, we have been programmed to believe that we want men who are soft, men who likes to talk about their feelings and hear us talk about our feelings. But then we get these men, and it's a mixed match. It just doesn't work. And so now women are starting to realize that no, we want strong men who are leaders, who are capable, and for lack of a better word, she wants to be dominated in and out of the bedroom.
Whoa, wait a second. You just said a bad word in the feminist world. Is some man coming in the room to dominate you? I see you looking to the side. Are you about to be dominated?
No, I was wondering if that was a delivery truck. I have a package coming.
Okay. That's the delivery boy is here to dominate me.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
not that
Okay.
type of package.
Okay. That's what they call him now, the delivery boy. What is he delivering?
Oh,
So
it is actually my package. That's hilarious.
oh man. Yeah, women love packages, right?
Oh my gosh.
Is that what you call him? The delivery boy has my package. Is that how it works? Is that code? Is this code word?
UPS guy, I guess.
Okay. All right. So you just said women ultimately want to be dominated by a man. This is, I thought that was like a code word for enemy, like sleeping with the enemy. The feminists are like, you have to destroy that man, crush him. Don't ever let a man dominate you. So, and now here you are, and this is being recorded and it's being witnessed. People all over the world actually can hear you say women want to be dominated. And that the only thing I can think of, and I'll say it this way. Hey guys, and any women who are listening, this is what I hear when a woman says women want to be dominated. This is how you shorten all that. Me man, you woman. Me man, you woman. That's what they're asking for.
Yes, women don't want to be abused and controlled, and I think that's why they don't like that word, because it kind of lends to some men operating badly and poorly to a woman. But when you get down to it, you peel the onion back, you peel the layers of the onion back, and you talk to women. That's exactly what it is. Because when I talk to women, I say, "Oh, you want to be dominated then?" No, I don't want to. That's controlling and abuse. And I'm like, no, it's not. You want a man who is going to assert himself, stand up, be a man, be a leader, be a good husband, be a good father. Yes, that's what I want. You want a man whom you can't control, who won't allow you to lead him around. Yes, okay, well then you want a dominating man, because that's what men who are dominant,
That's a caveman. That is the guy. So don't women love Tarzan? Like, me man, you woman.
That's why women love Tarzan. That's why it was such a popular movie.
Because women liked it.
Yes, because women liked Tarzan. Women look at Tarzan and look at Jane. Jane was very feminine. She was a lady, and here she is attracted to this brutish man who had no connection to civil society.
He had no social. He didn't know what social
exactly. But his masculinity, his protection of her, he provided for her. That's what she felt. That's what caused her to fall in love with. She recognized that to him. That's what women signify a man being, is a man who is going to protect and provide.
I'm confused then. Why aren't women just saying that? Why aren't they just saying, I want Tarzan?
Women are saying
I want Tarzan in a construction outfit. But I want I want a caveman who has some education, right? Because Jane could bring Tarzan into the city, right? Mm-hmm. And she helped him along the way, right? But so is this really the real reason women choose the thug?
Yes. Women say it all the time. They say, I need a man who can handle me. I want a man who can handle me. See, men think that's translating in, I want a man who can deal with my bad behavior. Okay, she might be dealing in bad behavior, but she wants that man to be able to put her in check and say, hey, enough is enough. Shut up.
She's encouraging violence, though.
That's not violence.
If she's bad behavior and getting in a guy's face.
I'm not talking about that. You know how a woman can run her mouth and she can just be like, and he's like, and some men, they just let it go. She's complaining about something. When women say, I want a man who can handle me, it's mostly to deal with the fact that she knows she's mouthy and she's going to run her mouth and she's going to say whatever she wants to say. She wants a man to be able to tell her to shut up. That's enough. I don't want to hear it anymore. That's it. She wants a man who's going to be able to shut her down, even if she's just being extra. She's on one. She wants that man to be able to say, shut up.
What does a man, so someone asked a good question. Isn't that like akin to being a child?
No, it's not akin to being a child. It's women. Men have to understand that women are emotional and we are led by our emotions, and we are feeling something. We're going to let you know what we're feeling. Now, across different social economic classes, you're going to see it come out differently. In women of lower socioeconomic backgrounds, they're used to just being very, very vocal, saying whatever it is they're feeling in that moment. And women of higher classes tend to operate a different way. They may be a little bit more passive aggressive, because they practice proper etiquette. But for the most part, it's just basically just saying, hey, men need to recognize and understand we are emotional beings, and we should be allowed that, and it's okay for us to be emotional, because if you shut off that part of us, then we'll start operating in our logic all the time. And if a woman is operating in logic all the time, then she's more like a man. So
So wait a second. Then at what point is a woman 100% responsible for her outbursts?
she's 100% responsible for her outburst when she starts going below the belt. Especially when he says that's enough.
Whoa, you got to wait for her to go below the belt. Like
No.
when are women? So this is here's a question guys will have. When are women just going to present themselves like adults? You know you're emotional. Handle it. Why must I handle you? Why don't you handle yourself?
It's not about handling it. It's just sometimes women can get so emotional and so passionate that she cannot recognize and see. This is why I said we need men, because women sometimes can't recognize when their emotional state is too much. And as a man, I know you guys don't like hearing that, just like the women are not liking to hear what I have to say. As a man, you need to be able to rein her in and let her know that you're being too emotional.
Wait, enough right there. Yeah. Stop it. Enough. You mean like that?
Yes.
Okay. Now, wouldn't women say that's awful and controlling? How could you do that? And don't you talk to me like that?
That is a woman that does not desire to be married. There are some women who will be that way, but for the most part, all the mouthy women that I say is that's what they're looking for, that man to tell them enough. You have some women who are controlling and who want to dominate a man, but that's not all women.
But then women start screaming, you're a sexist. You've seen it. I get called a sexist, a misogynist, and whatever else is. So that's how women will. So if a man presents himself the way I just did, women would say, you're just trying, all you want to do is control me. That machismo and sexist and misogynist. And then men start to back down from being more masculine, more manly.
That is a trust factor. And if you're with a woman, yes, at first she might give you a little pushback because she's scared in that moment. I'm not trying to make any excuses. I'm just saying that this is what it is. She's going to be scared in that moment because she's afraid that it may go a little bit further than what it should. But all you have to do is just reassure her that I'm not trying to control you. I'm not trying to abuse you, but you're not going to talk to me that way. You're not going to engage in this behavior. And if you do decide to continue to engage in this behavior, then we're not going to be together. That's what she's looking for. And then once you do that, that's all. Then that enough is enough. That's all that needs to be said. Now, if she continues to engage in that behavior, then that is a woman who is not in control of herself. But for the most part, a man should back a woman down. And if she doesn't change, then you know what type of woman you're dealing with. But for the most part, women just want a man to exert his leadership, his masculinity, and his manhood. Women want men. It's just plain and simple. Unless you're lesbian.
So here's someone, he says, so that's all you got to do? Tell him to shut up? I wonder how many men told their women to shut up and she listened.
Well, some women aren't going to listen to some, and that's a woman that's a difficult woman, and you know what type of woman you're dealing with. You guys, you got to stop making excuses. You're either going to step up and be able to back a woman down and stand on that and be assertive, or you're just going to give up and allow her to run roughshod over you. And then what?
So here's a legit question. Why does a woman go into a relationship looking to be sorted out?
She doesn't go into the relationship looking to be sorted out. She just understands how she is and who she is when she gets to a certain level of frustration or passion. She knows how she is. She's not trying to fool you. So she's letting you know, I can be a little difficult. I can be a little emotional, and I just need you to let me know when I'm being too much. So it's not that she's looking for that. It's just that she knows who she's are. She's trying to be honest with you, and she knows that she needs that. She needs that from a man.
What? So you got to get. A lot of guys will see that as, well, I have to speak to my woman like she's a child.
Well, if you have a problem with that, then that's not a woman that you want to deal with. It's not all women are that way. A lot of women.
Well, which women are not that way?
You're gonna have to look for women in a higher socioeconomic class.
And you think they don't do that?
They do better because they're trained from childhood. They're trained from birth on etiquette and how to deal with people and how to socialize and handle their emotions. Or you deal with women who have been in therapy.
Well, let me tell you something. Let me tell you there, and I'm going to do a show on this. I don't know if this is a phenomena that's occurring most recently, but there are more and more women going through rage, and they're expressing it even to their children. And the women say, I'm not like this. So I think this is kind of what the guys are getting at. It's like, you're a woman, the average man can knock your head off, yet you're enraged with the guys. So, you said something, these higher socioeconomic classes are teaching their children to be able to manage themselves, to sort out themselves, right? Instead of looking for a guy to do it. So why doesn't every woman understand she needs to do that with her daughter, regardless of socioeconomic class?
Because they're not taught. Human behavior is taught. Civility is taught. Our most basic, we're just emotional beings. We have to be taught and trained how to control our emotions. That's just not something that just happens. So when you're in lower social economic classes, you have women who are frustrated all the time because of the type of men they're dealing with, their financial situation. So they just explode. And then their daughters are seeing this, and their daughters are practicing that with themselves amongst each other. So where I grew up in the projects. That's where I lived for the first few years of my life. And then even after we moved out of the projects, we still lived in the hood. So when we got angry at each other, when people in those situations get angry at each other, there's no civility there. There's no one to teach you, oh, this is you use your words and you talk it out. No, you fight it out. That's what you grow up in. And I don't know where that started, but all I know is as I was coming up, that was just a regular common thing that people get mad at each other and they fight each other. It used to be just the women fighting the women and the men fighting the men. But now it's women trying to really, before it used to be if a guy ticked her off, she'd get her brother or someone else to handle that fight. But now, for some reason, women are really up here thinking that they can fight men. But in that social economic class, it's different. Then when I moved to the suburbs, when I got married, we moved on a military base. There was a decorum that you had to operate in on that military base because there were rules and policies in place, right? Then after my divorce happened, I moved into the suburbs. these people just knew how to operate with one another. You get angry at one another. You might, I'm not saying they don't get upset, not saying that they don't get into arguments, but you don't see the level of violence that you do with lower people of lower socioeconomic status. So if a man wants a woman who has control over her emotions and she doesn't feel like she needs a man to control her in that way, then he needs to make sure he is putting himself in position to attract such women, and those women are mostly going to be found in a different socioeconomic class.
So wait a second. So if if you're a guy without a lot of money, you deserve to be with a woman who just gets out of control?
I'm not saying you deserve that, but if you cannot put yourself in position to attract a better quality woman, I mean, what are you?
So,
I mean, it is what it is.
Okay, so all humans get emotional. Why are women allowed to be in a out of control rage and men are not?
I didn't say women are allowed to be in out of control rage. I'm just pointing out the fact that women are emotional, and some women.
Why aren't men allowed to be the same way?
Because men can get violent, very violent, and hurt.
Okay, well then, so can a dog. So can a dog, and we know where the boundaries are.
We're not animals, and that's why.
Yes, we are. We are. We cannot forget that. We are animals.
When it comes to dogs, this is why they have certain policies. When it comes to dogs, you can't have certain dogs in certain communities. Your dog has to be on leash in certain areas. You can't allow you have to have a fenced-in yard, because they know how dogs can get. So therefore, we know how you and I have talked about the nature of men, especially Black men. Men can get very violent. Men can hurt things if they operate.
Men are made for that. That's the protection.
Right, and you're made for that. So we understand that you can hurt things, and that's why men have to be more controlled, more so than women. A woman gets upset, her mouth, the one thing that's going to keep going is her mouth. Men get upset.
Women hit men. They do it all the time.
You're correct. So let's say if a woman.
And the majority of domestic violence is initiated by women.
You are correct. But what I'm saying, you asked why can't men get out of control and why women can get out of control. I'm not saying one is right or wrong. I think everyone should operate themselves accordingly, should operate with some civility. What I'm pointing out is that men can't get out of control, because when men get out of control, people get hurt, things get hurt. Whereas women,
why is it women know not to go get in a dog's face when it's barking and she hates the barking dog? Why does she know that there's boundaries with the dog?
Those are low value, low vibrational women who feel like they have no control over themselves.
This can happen in the workplace. It doesn't have to be low socioeconomic class.
Well, low socioeconomic classes also entail the working class, and that's what.
No, they could be a non-working class.
You're rarely going to see a woman of a higher socioeconomic class is really going to just be. I mean, she'll get upset and she might speak her mind, but to go to a level of getting in the man's face and thinking she's going to be big and bad and back him down and become violent towards him, you don't see that. You mostly see that in lower social economic classes and working class women. You really see that a lot in women who live in the hood, because they have built up this mentality that they have to be strong, they have to be independent, and that if a man that if they don't like something, that they can speak on it and operate in such a way. These women just have no class. They have no control over themselves. So I don't even really focus on those women. I don't think men should concern themselves too much with those women. Those women are going to be who they are, who they were taught to be. And the only thing that's going to fix them is therapy. And if more likely they're not going to get it. So I think men should just focus on the women who don't act like that, because the majority of women don't act like that violent, go to that level of being violent. Now, a lot of women can be very disrespectful. They can be very catty, be very biting.
Right. And they may be well educated. They may be well educated with great jobs.
Yes. But talking about being violent and telling a man she's gonna whoop his behind, you don't see that the higher up you get in social economic status, but women, for the most part, overall, can be very combative, can be
Okay.
very.
So here's a good question in the chat. So men are supposed to know how to be leaders before they enter a relationship, but women get a pass on being cooperative and submissive, and may or may not work on that during the relationship. So we're asking men to be leaders, and we're telling women you don't have to have any control over yourself. But men, not only do you have to have control because you're an emotional being too, you can't bring the same emotionalness as a woman because then you're not a man, and you have to be a leader. But a woman just brings herself, and I
I'm not
want
saying
to.
that. I am not saying that, but I understand that.
I'll be right back. Keep going.
Okay, I'm not saying that, but I understand that men feel that that's what women are being told, that they don't have to control themselves and they can just be however they want to be. I'm not saying that. I am actually one saying that women need to control themselves and learn how to conduct themselves with men. And what I'm saying is, I'm just simply stating the facts. I'm just saying that this is how women act, and you're either going to be with a woman like that, or you're going to put yourself in a position to find a woman who is of better quality. Okay, so I'm going to start reading some questions. So PJ said, so why aren't women highly emotional at workplace, but only when in a relationship with a man? That's what happens when you have a woman who is in a provider role. When a woman is in a provider role, then she's going to start operating in her masculine energy. And when a woman she feels that she is in the same position as you, she's equal to you, then that's what you're going to get. So if you don't want a woman to feel like she's on par with you, she doesn't have to trust your lead. She doesn't have to trust your leadership. She can question you whenever she wants to. And that's really what it boils down to is if you're doing something she doesn't like or you're not doing enough, yeah, she's going to speak up on it. Why? Because she feels she has just as much say because she's bringing just as much to the relationship as you, whereas she's bringing equal finances. So if you want a woman who is going to be a little more cooperative, you're going to have to put yourself in position to find such women. And women who work and take care of home and take care of families, yeah, they're going to be different. So I think men need to figure out what exactly they want in women, what it is they want in a woman, and how to go about finding such a woman. Because there are certain things that you're going to get. You can't you're not going to be able to have it all. You guys want feminine women, and you want women who are cooperative and who are submissive, but yet you want her to work, or she has to work. Well, if she's working, she's going to come with a whole different attitude. I'm not saying that's all women, but there are a lot of women who are like that. So if you don't want all that lip and attitude and feeling like y'all are on the same level, on the same, y'all equal to one another because you both work to pay the bills, you're probably better off getting you a wife who can stay at home.
Someone, maybe you saw it, but why aren't women being this emotional at work? Why don't they display the same? Did you address that?
Yes, I did. I actually saw that question. So since you didn't hear it, I said because she's at work. That's her money. She's not going to mess up her money. But at home, it's like while women want men, she feels like she's your equal. She doesn't have to listen to you when you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that she's just out there just being crazy, but she doesn't have to listen to you. She doesn't have to take your leadership without question.
So why would a man marry? Why would a man marry a woman like any woman who believes that?
When you marry a woman who works, there are certain things that's going to come with that. That's just how it is. If you don't want any of that, you're more than likely better off marrying a woman who is not working, because there's a different mindset that comes with a woman who is staying at home and understands that her husband is the one who is being the provider and providing her with a good, decent life. So.
But women are taught they are equal to a man.
Well, that's because a woman who is working, yeah, she feels that she is equal to a man. You both are paying to take care of the household. You're both paying to pay the bills. So why wouldn't she see herself as being on par with you, as seeing herself as your equal? And that's where that mentality is coming from. A lot of women are no longer being taught to be stay-at-home wives. They're being taught to go out, get a job, get an education, make your own money, not be dependent on a man. And with that comes a mindset of, oh, we're equal now. You're no longer in a role where you are my provider. We're both providing.
What if he provides sufficient enough and she just wants to work? She says, I'm educated.
Well, that's a different mindset. That is a woman who chooses to work. She doesn't have to work, so she doesn't have that burden of seeing herself as necessarily as your equal. So you're going to get a different dichotomy with a woman like that. But for the most part, a lot of men, because what is the percentage of black men who make $50,000 in America?
I don't know.
So the average black man in America makes 40,000, and I think that's at 26% of the black population in America. That's
Okay.
that's a very low. I mean, that's a very low number, and majority actually makes less than that. That's the 26% that's at 40,000. The rest of the numbers are actually less than that.
Okay.
So majority of men have to have wives that work, who is going to support the family. So if she's working to support the family, you're working to support the family. Why does she have to? Why is she not going to see herself as being your equal?
Faceless Man said 10% make more than 50. That's the number.
No, 10% make six figures. 10% of men.
No, that's the general population of men.
Oh, okay, that's the general population. Okay.
So someone says, so you have to. He said you have to provide you have to provide for women in order to get her cooperation. In other words, you have to pay for cooperation.
Yes. I mean, what woman is going to want to be in a situation where she's struggling and you can't pay the bills? And I mean, I don't really understand that question. I don't understand that.
Why be in a relationship if you're not going to cooperate?
Then don't be in a relationship. I mean,
no,
women.
I mean, for a woman, why would a woman want to be in a relationship and not cooperate?
I'm not saying she's going in with the mindset of she's not going to be cooperative, but women become uncooperative when the situation is not conducive. So when she's having to look at her babies and they're trying to figure out how to feed them, how to pay the bills and keep the utilities on and keep a roof over her head, that's very stressful. And so yeah, she's going, and then you putting her in a position to have to work because now you're showing her that you are incapable of leading the family. So now she's got to go out and take on some of your leadership role and be a provider. So now you're in a position of resentment. I'm not saying any of this is okay, guys. I'm just simply pointing out, if you want to understand why this is happening, I'm just trying to give you an insight into why this is happening.
So and how does a man move up if he has a woman who's pulling him down?
How does a man move up if he has a woman who's pulling down? What do you mean pulling you down?
Well, if she's not cooperative, then she's draining the life out of him. And if he's getting the life drained at home, he's got nothing left for work.
Then you have to change the situation. So ask her what it is that will get her to what her problem is and what's going to fix the issue. And some more times, usually it's she wants to stay at home. Her having to work is a problem.
Okay. Now so two things. One, if a couple is arguing at home and the doorbell rings, you know what happens, right?
Hold on one moment.
She just gets quiet and she answers the door and says, "Hey, how you doing? Good to see you," right? Yes. So all of a sudden she knows not to argue. The other thing I was thinking was the reason why people are struggling is because you have women in the workforce. That's why we're struggling in the first place. Women fought to be in a workforce, and they're not as productive as men in most things. And some things, it's better to have a woman, right? They do better, and no one refutes that.
Correct.
But in most things, they don't put in the hours that men put in. They're not as productive, which means companies have to raise their prices, and everything's expensive. And you just look at real numbers, productivity levels in the U.S. workforce from 1957 until 1967 1947 until 1967 were 108% of productivity capacity. From 1968 until 2015, it was 69%. So the women are less productive, meaning you're getting less work out of more. You have to hire more women to do the same job as a man, and means they have to push prices up, and now women have to work. So women have to work because they want it to be in the workforce. Do women realize this?
Yes.
Women realize that everything's more expensive because they're in the workforce.
No. Women will reject that. Women will outright reject that.
Do you understand what I just said? I didn't just make that up. I didn't pull numbers out my ass.
Correct. I understand.
Okay.
Because with women in the workforce, there is more compensation that happens because women start having children. Women need time off. Women need special concessions that unlike men do. So that causes costs to go up. So yes, I understand, but yes, women will reject that. So then what do we do? So
if you look at the chat, men are saying just walk away.
Okay. And they have that right. Then do so. If that's what makes you feel better, then if that makes you feel better, if that works you, then do what you need to do.
But do women understand this?
No, women don't understand it. I don't even understand it, because for me, I get why men are saying this, but I'm looking at the chat and I'm saying you have to do this, but yet they're rejecting it just like the women. So if I'm telling a woman this is what you have to do to attract a man, to attract a suitable mate, and they're rejecting it, I see the guys are doing the same thing. If you want a cooperative wife, you're going to have to create a situation to where she's able to operate in that. I'm not saying women are going in being uncooperative and combative. For the most part, marriage-minded women, they go in with the idea that they're going to be a support for their husband. But then when they get in these situations where they can't operate in their femininity, they have to focus on not just the husband and the children, but now they got to worry about bills, and they got to worry about things not being right, their financial situation not being right, then yes, you're going to have issues. If you want to remove those issues from your marriage, you have to produce a situation to where she's going to be comfortable, and she's going to be able to flourish in it. You don't just get to say because you want a woman, you can have one and you can have the best of all of her, but you're not giving her the best of you. And the best of a man is his ability to provide and to protect. The best of a woman is her ability to be feminine, nurturing, cooperative, submissive, all those qualities that men say they want. But you can't expect for a woman to come with all of that, but you're not coming with everything that you are as a man.
Well, do you think so? If she's a stay-at-home mom, does a man have the right to say you work for me?
Yeah, why would you say that to your wife like that?
No, I'm just asking a simple yes or no question. Yes or no? Does the man have the right to say you work for me?
Yes, that's
okay. Now, if you work for me, you understand. If you get a job, you have to meet certain criteria, and there's a quota, there's a productivity. If you fall behind, you get fired.
Correct.
Okay, yeah. So now all those things you said are nice, feminine and submissive and cooperative. Those are cute, but that doesn't really.
I'm saying what men are telling me that they want. So,
Yeah, I understand. But if you really want a great life, your woman needs to be out there working for you and connecting some dots, building a network that will support your success. Because while you're out there rolling up your sleeves, doing the work, and I don't care if you're working with your mind or your hands,
right.
you can't
Yes.
be everywhere. And if
Yes.
your wife is not out there intentionally, soccer mom, in the
Correct.
gym, I don't care
Correct.
where she is, if she's not meeting people and then having little dinner parties and these people are coming over that help you get new clients if you're an entrepreneur, get a better job if you're an employee, get loans,
Yes.
all of those things. If she's not doing that, she doesn't work for you. And that could mean it's just your turn. Like she's just a woman who's there, she's only there as long as the money is there. And when the money
Yes.
runs out, she jumps ship. But if she has a vested interest, if she invested her effort in making sure you're successful beyond just being a cheerleader, because men don't need that.
Right.
A man is, if a man has money, he's already inspired himself and that he doesn't need a woman for that.
Correct. You are correct. You are correct. So
why don't women talk about, I have a network and this is the value I can bring. So here's why I'm worth the investment. And if she understands she works for him, she's going to have the same kind of respect she has for her boss in a company, because she can't mess up everyone's head in a company. They will fire her. So if she has a boss called my husband, she is not going to mess up his head.
Yeah. So these are things that women need to be telling other women, that there are some women who just want the lifestyle. That's just it. And men need to learn how to properly vet those women and exclude those women early on. But there are some women who truly want the marriage. They just are lacking in some areas. And this is what women need to start telling other women, especially married women. So single women definitely need to get around other married women, because when you're around married women, it's a whole different mindset. And these are things that will be taught, because let's face it, a lot of us are growing up in single parent households. So we're not seeing what it takes to be a wife.
Okay, so here's the question. You have a daughter, right?
Yes.
How old is she?
My daughter will be 20 this year.
Great. Does she want to get married?
Yes.
Does she know she will be working for her husband?
Oh, it froze. Hello?
You didn't hear my question?
No, it froze.
Okay. Does your daughter know she will be working for her husband?
Yes, she does.
You told her this explicitly in those words.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't use those words.
Why not? Why doesn't she know she's going to be working for her husband?
Because that's not the language of femininity. That is the language that a father should be telling his daughter. That is language that a man should be using. Women have a different way of getting their point across. So no, I didn't.
How do you get that point across to your daughter then?
I told her that at this point, I see that they're getting, because her and her boyfriend are 2 years together, 2 years now. So I told her, at this point, you are now in the position to be operating like a wife. So he wants to be an urban planner. So I said, you need to start engaging yourself in social circles, social networks where you can be beneficial to him, have foster connections for him. Because it's not just about you.
What did she say when you told her this?
She said she understood. She said yes. She said okay. She said, what does that look like? I said, well, one, join a sorority, because you joining a sorority is going to open up a bunch of doors that can, open up a bunch of doors. You're going to have to build up your social, and only include women who is going to be beneficial to you and him in the future, because those women are going to get married, and those women, your husband, and you can utilize those husbands for you someday. So
okay. Do your nieces know the same thing?
No, my nieces do not.
Okay. Can you see how this is a problem?
Yes.
Okay. So why aren't women, as a general rule, I know women say don't generalize. Well, and as a general rule, women are not telling their daughters this.
Because women don't want to look at it that women don't, for the most part, women are being told that being useful for your husband, serving your husbands is bad. You have decades of women being told serving your husband, serving a man, doing anything for a man is weakness. So it's, my sister, even though she is in a happy marriage, she's still feminist minded, and she's married to a man who doesn't mind that. She does a lot of traditional stuff, but she's still feminist minded, and so they don't teach these things to their children.
Do women understand that makes them undesirable?
No, I don't think women understand that makes them undesirable. I think that now, because it's starting to be talked about a lot more, that women are being told that it makes them undesirable, but I don't think they really understand why. I think they just think that men are being mean, and trying to tear them down. So no, I don't think they understand why.
So it sounds like men need to be meaner.
Men don't need to be meaner, but I mean, men need to just be more assertive. Men need to just, instead of when he gets pushed back from a woman, he needs to hold his ground and continue to be assertive.
And women say that's controlling.
If a woman tells you that's controlling and that's abuse, that is a woman who is a feminist or of a feminist mindset, and you need to disregard her and move on to the next. I mean, because you're going to get that. That's going to happen.
But there are a lot of women who will say it's controlling to try and get him to back down. And if he doesn't, she usually stays it. This is why I use this whole thing of women really do want a caveman.
Okay, but my thing is, men have a choice in this. You're not with bystanders in this. This is your lives too. So you have to take control. You don't have to accept anything that you don't want, that is not good for you.
Well, they're not. They're going to Dominican Republic, Colombia, Brazil.
And that's fine. But, well, I mean, if that's it, I'm just going to have to ask. If that's the case, then why are they still online complaining about black women?
I don't think they're complaining. What men are doing is putting in boundaries and saying these certain things are no longer acceptable. Even if I go to another country, I'm still letting you know these are the boundaries. You all cross them, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. And that's fine. And unfortunately, women are going to have to, I mean, it seems like women for the most part are not listening. They don't want to hear. So they're going to have a reality check. And the reality check is, and I keep telling them, dating pool for quality men is small. Either they're already married or they don't want you. And that's the reality that they're going to be faced with. So a lot of women are going to end up buying cats, getting old and buying cats and dying alone.
Okay, so I'm going to bring this. We're going to start winding down. But and some of you guys may have a question for her. But I put up a question that generated some upset from both men and women. And I said, billions of men have built civilizations. And they have. If you look at over time, billions of men over time around the world have participated in creating structures and inventions and commercializing things. And they do these things while for sure they benefit women. They benefit men. They for sure have benefited women. Women drive cars. They drive them on smooth roads. They drive them on bridges at work and tunnels. They work in office buildings. They live in apartment buildings. All these things. I can go on and on. Washers, dryers, all these things to make life easier and more comfortable and safer for women. What do women do to make life easy for men? Since men are working on a daily basis, building, maintaining, and then in the military, protecting, why aren't women doing something to make life easier for men, for all men in general, whether you know them or not? What are the things women can do to make life easier for men?
Are you talking about men in general or the husband?
Look, men build civilizations for people in general. They go to war not for their mother and their sister. They go to war for people they never met before. Men do this on a daily basis, and they don't think, well, I'm not going to build this bridge safely because I don't know everyone crossing it. They don't care. They do things that benefit the greater good. So are women thinking about what they can do in return for men that makes life easier, since they're out there building civilization?
Yes, women do think that, but you guys just reject that.
Like what? What are the things that men are rejecting?
I mean, I'm not saying men reject, but I'm saying like you're rejecting the notion of the purpose of a woman. So yes, we're not out there creating things for civilization overall, but the purpose of a woman is to be a helpmeet for a man. The purpose of woman was because Adam needed a companion. Now, you don't have to be a Christian. I don't care, but that's my belief.
What are the things women can do to make, like, see, men are risking their lives. Some die, some lose all their money, and they're risking all of this to make sure women have safer, easier, more convenient lives. They're doing that for women they'll never meet ever.
Right.
What are women doing to make life easier for men, whether you know the man or not? What are women, what are they doing? And if they're doing nothing, what can they do?
That's I know you asked that question, and I've been pondering on that question, because how the logic that you're bringing forth, it's kind of hard to answer it, because men are wired and created for a purpose. Women are wired and created for a purpose. The only way that I can answer that is through my biblical belief, because for me, it takes me back to the beginning of creation. And men have their roles and women have their roles. A man's job was a man's purpose was to have dominion on the earth and take care of and protect all of God's creation. That is his role, and that's what men are operating in. Women are solely here to be a support system for men. And that comes in the way of what men deem the support they want. Men have all different types of needs, so that support is going to be different. There is not one overall thing that we are created to do other than to serve man. So we're going to serve a man in a way that he needs to, and it's not just. And the number one way that we serve a man is by providing children. We give him children. We bring forth life. That's the only thing between man and woman that cannot be crossed amongst genders, that men cannot carry nor deliver children. That is solely for a woman. So why do men want children? Men want children to bring forth to continue their legacies. Men want children. Children bring happiness for the most part. That's why people want children. They want children.
Children are a liability.
I would have to beg to differ.
No, listen. It costs about $250,000 from birth until 18. And you get no return on that. That means it's a liability.
That's not true. That's not true.
That's an expense.
That's an expense, but that's not to say that you don't get any return on that. That's not true. You get a return. You get a financial return, unless your kid grows up and really makes a lot of money, and then they start taking care of you financially. But you do get a return. It's just going to be different. What's the
return?
The return is the fact that you raised a child who has become a modern.
How does that benefit?
A good product of society that you.
How does that benefit me as a man? How does that benefit me?
Well, you have to ask men who have children. I can only speak.
I'm saying it's not a return. That's not a benefit.
Okay. Do you have children?
No, but it's not a benefit.
Then okay, so it's not a benefit
from a woman. From a woman,
a man who has children, what that benefit is for him.
Okay, childbirth is not an achievement; it's a gift from nature. So as a man,
I didn't say it was an achievement.
No, I'm just reading what.
I know. I'm just answering the chat. I didn't say it was an achievement.
No. He said it's a gift from nature, and so is a man's seed. They're both gifts from nature, right?
That's correct.
In other words, neither of us had anything to do with it, right? Nature just created that. So, I just at $250,000. There's no return on that. and
Okay.
and living your life like everything's such a good feeling that that's just not a return. I mean, people have other ways. They smoke a joint and they do other drugs, or they have sex and never pregnancy. So there are lots of things you can do to feel good, and it costs less than $250,000.
That's true, but for people who have decided to have children, I can only speak from a woman's perspective. But if you want to know why it benefits a man, then you would have to ask a man who has children what benefit he got from it.
Okay, so I have children. It's not a benefit. It's a responsibility, not a benefit.
That's not the question you asked. You said, what benefit does he get?
So he doesn't get any. It's not. It's a responsibility.
So he doesn't feel that he gets any benefit from having children. So why have them if that's the answer? Why have children if you don't feel there's any beneficial reason to have them?
People help populate the world. It's a way to bring your legacy and have your seed. But that's
benefiting from having children.
That's not a return on $250,000.
It's not a financial return, but you do benefit. You may not benefit financially, but you do benefit from having children. You continue your bloodline. Your legacy is intact. Children, and back in the day, they were having lots of children. Why? Because they needed help with their farms. So
that's only a small percentage. The reason they had so many children is because most of them died. So you would have 11 children, and like three would make it to adulthood. The rest would die. I mean, my grandfather has a sister, and I learned later that there were actually 7 children, and they were born in the early 1900s. Only he and his sister are the only ones that survived. So
I come from a family of big families. My mother, my maternal grandparents had 10 children. Their my great grandparents, they had 15 children.
No, I'm only saying that they had children because so many died. So if you wanted your children to make it to adulthood, you had a lot of them.
Yes, but you had a lot of them. But why do you keep having them if there's no benefit to you? I get what you're saying, that you see it as, because you're not getting any financial return, you don't see a benefit. I completely understand that. I'm not saying anything against that. I'm just saying, as a woman who has a child, I feel that having a child is beneficial. I wish I would have had more, but I feel that's beneficial. If you want to know what benefits a man gets from it, then you have to ask a man. The guy in the chat said
we're getting stuck. So what I was asking is, what do women do to make life easier? Having a child doesn't make life easier for a man. So therefore, there's no return on that. It's going to cost you extra money, even though the government gives you taxes. And it's okay if there's no answer, because you said you've been thinking about it. And what I'm getting at, what I'm sort of teasing out, is we're not asking women the right questions. So women in general, what are women? Men clearly are building civilizations, and you don't have to be a carpenter and a plumber. You can be an accountant and an attorney, because that's all part of the structure of building our society, and an architect. So what are women doing aside from saying, well, I'm having children? Because children, that's not a return. That's a responsibility, and it's an expense. And as a woman, you may see it because it gives you a special feeling and a bond. But for a man, we don't see that. So if we're going to marry you and provide and protect, what are the things you're going to do to make life easy? Because having a child isn't the answer.
Okay, that was one. You didn't allow me to finish. I mean, but for most part, women see it as, a man is out there, he is doing all of this, he is working, he is building, and when he comes home, she provides that nurturing, that love, that peace, that ability to take the weight of the world off of his shoulders, and just relax and just be comfortable in the environment. That's what women feel that they are making. That's how women look at it. Women are not going to be able, I don't know how women can look at it and say, well, for all mankind, this is what.
Why not?
We're
Why
not
hasn't
wired
the-
that way.
why hasn't the attitude changed that, hey, all men are for us? They're building a civilization. They're in the military. Why don't we make life easier for men?
Okay, but
why
then,
not have that?
because that would be individual. If you're talking about overall, I don't think there's anything that a woman can, that womankind can
Sure
do.
they can.
Can only
Sure.
do individual. Okay,
No
so then
question.
what is it? What is
No
it?
question. No question.
What is
So,
it?
so there's a you know who Genghis Khan is, right?
Yes.
Okay, so Genghis Khan, to my knowledge, there's been no general greater than him. He conquered more territory and actually created freedom of religion before anyone talked about it. So they had a setup for their culture of the Mongolians. The men eat first and they eat the best of everything. If the village is attacked by a surprise attack by an enemy, the men don't stay and fight. They get the best horses and they take off. So the women knew it was their job to take care of all of the men. Even though you have a husband, your job is to make sure men are well taken care of. And you don't want to lose a soldier because it takes 18 years to replace him. So you don't lose soldiers. So you take off. If you get a surprise attack, you go create allies with other villages and you come back, fight, get your women and children back. So there was a culture of taking, this is just the way we engage our men. We take care of our men and they take care of us. Here in the United States is you take care of women and you take care of women and you take care of women. And in return, I'm going to say nice things to you and I'm going to be your cheerleader and that's going to be nurturing. Okay. And that for men, they're starting to see that as not it's not a return on their resource of time and money. Okay, and so men are walking away because they're not getting that women care about men in general.
So what do men want? I don't think a lot of women know and understand what men want, because men don't really tell us overall what men want. I can tell you what individual men want, but for the most part, what do men want? Men need to start telling women what they want. And I get that they're saying that they're doing that, but men and women are different. So if you're in the barbershop or a setting with men and you're sitting up here saying, well, women do this, women do that, you can't use that same frame of argument with women. You have to be concise and direct and say, this is what I need from you, this is what I want from you. Not this is what you're doing wrong, this is what, because then she's gonna get defensive and start saying things like, well, I don't see that. I don't see what you're saying. I'm trying, I'm giving my best. Instead, you need to tell women what you want. So I'm asking you, what do men want?
Well, I'll answer, but do women ever talk about what men really want?
Yes, we talk about what we think men want.
And what is that?
Sex.
Okay. So guys in the chat, is that all you want from women? Just sex? Just the only thing you want is sex. If it's yes, if that's all you want is just sex, say yes. If it's no, say no. Men want women to work for them henceforth.
And see, that's not, you can't see, you can say that to men, but saying that to a woman, she's going to ask, what do you mean by that? Wait a minute, what do you mean?
See, now, someone said, no, sex is part of life. So sex, see, and I think this is part of the problem. I think the first layer to pull off from women is to actually kill, and I mean literally kill, destroy, annihilate the belief that sex is not a mutual exchange. Men do not want to hear that anymore. They want to know that they are engaging in sex with a woman who wants them as much as she wants. The woman wants him as much as he wants her, and this is a mutual exchange. It's a exchange between two human beings. It's the most intimate thing they can do, and if it's transactional, well, then there's not much care in that.
What I don't understand about men and their ideal and how they look at sex is, I hear a lot of men saying, well, men are programmed to just want a lot of sex and they're programmed to not be monogamous. And women should just basically accept that. But yet men can accept the fact that some women just don't orgasm, or they're not orgasming every time. And so it's not, our purpose for sex is not the same as your purpose for sex. Men are wired.
Whoa. What's a man's purpose for sex?
A man, I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say purpose. I did not mean to say purpose. A man's requirement, or the way that he goes about it. Men are wired to want sex all the time. Not saying that that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that they're wired to want sex all the time, because a man can procreate and impregnate 100 women in one day. Once a woman gets pregnant, that's it. And the way our bodies are wired is we really just want sex around the time that we're ovulating. That's where you'll see a woman at her height when it comes to being amorous and wanting to engage. For the most part, outside of that, yes, we get these feelings and these moods when a man puts us in the mood. But
why is a man responsible for putting a woman in the mood for sex?
Because outside of our ovulation cycle, our bodies just, for the most part, do not operate that way. Our bodies, for the most part, do not operate. Our bodies signal us when we want to have sex, and for a woman, it's just usually around the time she's ovulating. Outside of that, we have to be put in. For most women, we have to be put in the mood. And
women have larger sex drives than men.
I mean, if you say that.
They do.
You say that.
They do.
I mean,
I forget the name of the movie, but when you release the Kraken, the Kraken in a woman, she opens up and doesn't feel like having a large sex drive is she's going to be negatively judged. She opens the floodgates.
But that doesn't mean she has a larger sex drive than a man. Men have large sex drives in the fact that if the opportunity presents itself, they will have sex at any time, and they can. You don't even have to get in the mood. Y'all could just be there by yourselves and just all of a sudden.
Isn't that what women do? Isn't that what women do with their toys? They're just there by themselves. What's the difference?
That's usually if a woman is in a relationship with a man. Okay, because I hear a lot of men complaining sex falls off. When a woman is in a relationship with a man and she's getting it consistently, her sex drive is going to tend to fall off because she's getting her needs met. She doesn't need it met as much as a man's needs are met.
Do you have some sort of scientific or medical? Do you have some scientific medical research to back that up? Because the scientists are saying the exact opposite.
I can send you the article that I read the other day in Psychology.
That would be perfect.
Okay.
Put it in the group.
Well, so it's not on my laptop. It's on my iPad, which is in a different room. Not put it in a group. Put it in Straight Talk. Okay, I will do that. It's just that our bodies, there are some women who have a high sex drive. I mean, you have a high sex drive. So I have a abnormal sex drive for a woman. That is considered normal for a woman, meaning I don't have to have a man who is going to put me in the mood. I don't need a man to bring forth a orgasm. That is abnormal for a woman. But for men, you guys are wired and programmed to want to, if the opportunity presents itself, if any woman will let you take it, you'll be able to take it. Whereas you don't need a woman to put you in a mood. You just need it's just different. It's hard to explain. And I keep trying to explain to men, and I don't understand. It's like men want women to accept the fact that we are different, but men are having a hard time accepting the fact that women are different. We are women. Our bodies are different. We're different biologically. We're different biochemically, and we're different physiologically. We even think differently. Men want women. You say you want women, but you guys are wanting us to think like you think. And that's not that. If once we start thinking like you, then we're going to start thinking we're a man. So I need men to figure out what it is exactly they want, just like women need to figure it out.
Someone said something interesting. If a man can't get it up, then it's his fault. If she can't climax, then it's his fault too.
No, if
this is a dilemma that men face, right? So right. You know, the reason that if you ask a woman who is well trained as a gynecologist and really understands a woman's body, she will tell you the only reason a woman doesn't climax is because she has too much trash in her head. She's thinking about too much stuff and she's sabotaging her own pleasure. This is what women will say who are experts in the field of female sexuality.
And I also just read a study where, yes, that is the cause, but also medication can be the cause.
I got it for the medication. I get that. And you can say diet. There are lots of things.
Yes. And also the fact that it does sometimes come down to a man's size.
I got that. I get those things. What there are guys who actually do put it down and they work that woman for 90 minutes and she's like, oh, I was almost there, right? So, but and maybe she was molested or raped, like something happened to her, right? Usually, in a lot of cases, something happened. But I think the overall bigger picture is that there are just, in general, there are more negative attitudes towards sex from women in the US than there are in other countries, because if you just look at the penis and a vagina, women have about 3 times the amount of nerve endings that are designed only for pleasure. They have 3 times the amount men do. So
that's in the clitoris.
It doesn't matter. It's so according to when it comes to sexual activity, according to the females who are experts in this field, they say a woman should normally climax in 5 minutes and a guy in 7, based on the nerve sensors for pleasure. They say that's normal. And in some countries, it is absolutely normal like that. And it's very much across the board, unless the woman, it's the only time it doesn't happen is if she's on medication, or she's got some head trip. But in a lot of other countries, it is very normal like that. It's here that there's such a pushback towards sex, almost like men use sex to control women and women use it as some bargaining chip.
Or it's just that we're taught as little girls that, we're not taught. I can't speak for any other community, but I can tell in the African American community, little girls are not taught about their bodies, taught about pleasure. We're shamed
exactly.
Enjoy sex. Right. I, for one, took the opposite stance from my daughter. I told her, to protect herself, but I let her know sex is the most pleasurable thing, the best thing that God has ever, one of the best things that God has ever created. And it's to be enjoyed as well as to bring about children. But I was never taught. I was always told to, it was always negative. There was always a negative outlook about sex. Sex was bad. And then wait,
time out right there. So see, when I talked about what are the things a woman can do to make life easier for a man, it came down to sex, right? Whether it's children or for pleasure. And women are failing at delivering on that because of what you just said. What you just said is you were taught it was bad. And you said women don't climax. The reason they don't climax is because they have a negative attitude towards sex and they didn't learn about it. And then they believe the lousy performance they provide is supposed to be sufficient for a man, and he's getting nothing out of this.
Did you say lousy performance?
The lousy performance, because she doesn't know how to enjoy him or sex, so she turns it into a transaction. And men don't want to have sex transaction. If they're going to have it as a transaction, they'll pay an escort or prostitute, and they understand that's exactly what this is about. If I'm going to invest my time in you and other resources for a transaction, no.
Okay, whether she enjoys it or I mean, I get what you're saying, and I completely agree. It's so what do we do? I mean, women are not orgasming,
So
are not
here's the deal.
orgasming.
Here's how it works. Here's how it works. Shut up. All women, shut your trap. And men are going to tell you what they want.
Okay.
And you're going to have to relearn and unlearn a whole bunch of stuff. And for all the women who make the claim that they are there and they have that to offer, you are going to support us to get this done, or men will continue to go to other countries where the women have a much healthier attitude towards sex and towards men and towards the role that they play. Because men will still get married. They'll go somewhere else. But if women believe the very thing that they bring in is the very thing they're lousy at, this is a bad deal for a man.
I would agree with that. So I'm just in my head, I'm just trying to see how this looks, because for me, and many to understand is that for the most part, women are not trying to be out here and be hoes. Women are looking for
a good job, aren't they? So don't tell me they don't want to be out there.
I didn't listen. There's a difference in the fact that that's not what you want, but that's how you end up, right? There's a huge difference.
Since you were 12 or 14, okay, all right, I got it.
But it's like men don't want whores, but you want women to have all this open sexual experience. Okay, so my generation. Hold on, let me finish.
Go ahead.
For women who are not being taught about sex, some women are just uncomfortable with it. They don't want to talk to their daughters about it. So how do you say women should go about? Because if she's had her first sexual experience, she knows nothing about sex. She had her first sexual experience.
You need to swallow more.
She didn't have an orgasm. And you are so bad. Did you say that, or someone in your chat said that?
I said this is out of my mouth.
Oh my goodness.
You all need to swallow more. The only reason you open your mouth is when we need it open. Here.
Listen, women are bad at that too, I'm hearing. So I mean,
I'm supposed to be conservative, right? I'm in my suit here, at least in my jacket. Sorry, go ahead.
So women are not being taught about sex by their moms. Okay, we're coming out of a generation where it just was not talked about. Like it wasn't.
No, this is historical. It's not you. It's been going on for generations.
Yes, it's been going on for generations. And then women come across their first sexual partner and they didn't orgasm, so they have no clue. A woman is not going to know about good, healthy sex until she has that first orgasm. And unfortunately, some men are just bad in bed, or they don't care about their partner. So she's going into her 30s, not having orgasms, not understanding why she's not having orgasms. And so now she just views sex as something to do because that's what men want. That's what her husband wants, or that's what men want. So how do you change that? Are you saying that women who are more open, women who are more in tune, need to teach women or talk to women about their sexuality, their sensuality, their bodies?
Yeah, it needs to be more. See, a lot of women don't actually even want to talk about sex. If a man brings it up, oh, that's all you want from me, we can't even talk to you about it. We can't even have an adult conversation. And then there are women, even if you are having sex with them, if they start experiencing things they never experienced, they get angry and say, well, you're trying to make me do something I don't want. It's like, it's okay. This is normal. Yeah, it's not pee. It might feel like pee, but it's really not pee. So let me ride you through it.
No, that's pee. We're going to disagree on that. I'm a woman. That's pee.
I don't care. When it squirts across the room, you'll be like a junkie and you always want it again. So, I mean,
that's right. For men. Y'all want that, but no. Hey. We're going to have to agree to disagree. But not all men.
We can't. It's impossible to agree to disagree.
Not all men care about that. But I do agree that men want a healthy open sexual relationship where they're not feeling like they have to constantly ask for it. They're not feeling like they got to beg for it. You want a woman who wants it, she's just as turned on by you as you are for her. I think that will take a lot of therapy. So I would definitely, so if a man is coming across a woman that he really likes and that's the issue, I would suggest that you suggest therapy to her, because as you say, it is a mental block, and you're going to have to get to the bottom of it. It's not something that she could just turn on and turn off. There's a root cause that needs to be fixed, that needs to be addressed.
And see what that gets me back to where this started when I asked, what are women going to do to make life easier for men? And there's one thing: be a better lover.
Okay.
Know your body, right? If we're not talking about having children, but know your body.
Right.
Make sure my needs are being met. And if you don't know what those needs are, you need to find out. And I think you just put yourself on mute.
There's a lot of noise back in the background.
Okay. So I don't know if women really they care. See, there's a care. If women care, they would be asking what needs a man. What are his unmet needs? Because when men say, I need this, I need you to stop this, women get upset and, you're saying you're trying to put me down and you're bashing me, and men don't want, it's like, shut the fuck up and listen to what I'm saying.
I think the problem lies where you have men who are getting them to believe something. So it's like the story of the unattractive girl. She's to get with one very attractive guy who pays her attention. He sleeps with her. So now she thinks she's good enough for every guy, right? The same thing is with women who are bad at sex. You don't have a man telling her, yeah, this is not great. This is not good. He either keeps coming back or he's, gassing her head up. And so she thinks that there's nothing wrong with her sexual performance until now you being a healthy adult who is communicating and saying, hey, yeah, this is not working for me. I need you to fix this. She's going to give you pushback because she's never been told that she was bad at sex. So I think men need to start being more open and honest. Like, this goes right back to where we start off talking with men being assertive and just, hey, yeah, this is a problem. You need to get this fixed. And if she gives you pushback, tell her why. Okay. Yes.
They need to be more cavemanish and not afraid of a response. And this is somewhat of a conflict resolution skill, right? So you need to be able to deal with conflict. And I think it's absolutely mandatory for every little girl to be trained in conflict resolution, so they don't end up in an argument with a guy and getting their ass kicked or killed. Women need to stay out of conflict with men. You're on mute again.
You're correct, because there's a lot of noise in the background, so I don't want everybody to get distracted and hearing. But I agree, you are correct. Women need to learn how to engage in conflict resolution. That's because they're not taught. That's why you get a lot of women who are very combative with men, because they're not taught how to control themselves. They're not taught that if you are being asked a question or things aren't going right, that you don't have to
keep going. Be right back. Keep going.
You don't have to explode and go off the rails just because you don't like what's being said. So you guys are funny in the chat. This is hilarious. So let's see. You guys are hilarious. PJ, you're hilarious. I'm just going to say, you're just coming for me, aren't you? No. So y'all like that, huh? Y'all like the squirters. Okay. So fellas, do me a favor. Tell me what you want. What do you want in a woman? What do you want? Put it in the chat room. And why are you having a difficult time finding what you want? So my matchmaker had just kicked on by watching these comments. What do you want? And tell me, why are you having a difficult time finding that in a woman? Since y'all want to come for me. Squirters are fun up till your mattress turns into a sponge and starts. Oh my goodness. So PJ, you want a woman who can provide. So you want a working woman. Okay. What are you not meeting? You want to be a stay-at-home husband, or you want gender role reversal in your marriage? Loyalty, respect, truthfulness, honor. Okay. See, men have some reasonable, for the most part, you guys do have some reasonable, realistic. So tell me, why aren't you meeting these women? Why is it difficult for you? So if you're if you're of marrying age, tell me why you're not married. If you want to get married. If you don't want to get married, it doesn't apply. Oh, you're back. I'm talking to your. You left me and I'm here floundering.
That's perfect.
PJ exactly. Says he can't see the benefits. Okay, but you said you want a woman who can provide. So do you want a woman who's at home? Or do you just want a 50-50 relationship? Supported body conscious and adventurous would be the start. Okay, Ted, so you're back. All right, let's go. Sorry, I commented.
They're answering your question.
Yes, and then the second half of that was, why aren't you meeting these women? Are you meeting these women? So 50-50, including respect and submission. Okay.
So with that, if you are now a unit, why isn't all money going into one pot?
Yeah, I will say for men, because when you are married and she's working, all of your money should be going into one account. If you are of the mindset that your money should be split up, then you really don't need to be married. And you're going to get into this back and forth, because when you get married, it's two becoming one. And how can you truly be one? How can you ask for cooperation, submission from a woman, but you can't trust her with your money? And if you have a woman who says she doesn't want to share bank accounts because she doesn't trust you with her money, then that is a red flag, and that's not someone you should marry.
So basically, it sounds like a lot of women have set themselves up to be pumped and dumped.
Yeah. I mean,
because
why even bother? Like, they shouldn't even, because this is the problem you're getting into. You're having sex with these women, and women look at sex differently than men. Men just look at it as, I'm just meeting a basic need, right? Women bond with men they have sex with, and I don't care if it's a one-night stand or whatever. She's going to bond with you in that moment. So if you're dealing with her, now she thinks all men is going to deal with her and be accepting of how she is. So if you want women to change, you have to stop dealing with women who are not of quality altogether. So the pump and dumps have to stop, because you are reinforcing that bad behavior when you engage sexually with a woman who is like that.
Women don't set them up. Society sets them up. Society sets them up to be pumped and dumped. Society doesn't stand that men and women have different sexual strategies. Well, even if you have different sexual strategies, if you're going to come together for something, aside from sex. If it's just for sex, you don't need to be together. You can just have sex. See you later.
But then you're reinforcing that she's fine how she is. If she feels that and I see this a lot with women, they don't see a problem with how they are because you have some guy who's willing to deal with them. So if men are still willing to deal with them, they're not gonna. How are they going to see themselves?
I think women have to learn the difference between a guy who will have sex with you and a guy who wants you. Women have a difficult time understanding that.
That is true. That is true. It's just they have this need, they have this desire to be wanted, and so in their mind they have created this little shield against not understanding, not picking up and not recognizing that just because he has sex. You'd be amazed at how many women talk about, well, I have options, and then when you ask them, okay, so when was the last relationship you had? Did he take you on dates? And are you, these options, are they really trying to be in a relationship with you? And you get a no, but I have options. Those are not options. Those are just men who want to sleep with you. The purpose of, if you want to get married, if you want to be in a long-term relationship, then you need to change the behaviors that you're exhibiting. Because if you're going, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Finish.
No, I lost my train of thought. So go ahead.
So then basically what you're saying is from little girls, we train women to be delusional. We tell them they're a princess and they're not. We tell them they're beautiful and they're not. We tell them they're smart and tough and they're not. We train females to be delusional so they can't even grasp what's actually going on.
Well, to an extent, but.
And don't forget about Cinderella and Snow White.
But that's for the pretty girls. Women who are not pretty, they have an understanding that they're not pretty until a man engages with them. And once a man engages with her, I don't care if it's one time, a one night stand, whatever. Now she feels like, okay, men desire her. So if this one guy desires her, then of course all men are going to desire her. So it's pretty women are basically raised to be delusional. Women who aren't pretty, they don't become delusional until they have a man reinforcing they have a man who engages with them, and then that's when that delusion starts.
So someone said women were the ones that created the pump and dump scene with women's sexual liberation movement. Even now, look at Tinder. It's just a bunch of women looking to get pumped and dumped.
Yes, I will say women wanted that sexual liberation. They wanted to have sex without the constraint of marriage and feeling shamed for it. It has not benefited us. It's not worked out for us. However, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, when it comes to delusional women, men are reinforcing the bad behavior. So if you want the behavior to end, you have to change how you interact. You can't just pump and dump women with behavior, because then they're going to think it doesn't matter what you say. Someone else likes it. Men are still engaging with me. So I'm not the problem here. I'm not the issue. You are. So if you want to change, you have to change how you interact with women. So the pump and dump scenario, while I think y'all think men think they're doing something and is empowering and liberating for them or whatever to treat a woman in such a manner, in the end, it's doing absolutely nothing but reinforcing this bad behavior.
So here's the question, and this will answer the question of delusion. Do women understand feminism harmed them?
No, women do not see feminism.
So then there's the delusion right there. There's the delusion.
Yes, of course. I mean, they don't see feminism as a bad thing because they think it benefits them, because women can now get a job. Women don't have to be up under a man. She feels free. She feels liberated. But then I have to beg the question, but yet you're still single and you're not married and you're having a hard time in the dating market. And that's the one thing you're really complaining about. You're not complaining about your job. You're not complaining about your friends. You're really complaining about your state of your relationship status, which is being single. So did it really benefit women? No, it did not. Feminism did not benefit us. Unfortunately, a lot of women do not realize how deeply it is ingrained in them and how we've been programmed to not see it as a bad thing, or not to even see that we're operating in a feminist mindset.
So what could men do to destroy that and bring some normalcy, or put relationships back on track?
Be assertive. Be assertive in what you want. Stand up for what you want. If you get pushed back, stand your ground. And stop doing the pump and dumps, because that's not helping.
So what can women do?
So women like me, I am on a mission to actually try to get women to see that their delusion is not working. The feminism did not work for us, and that they're delusional. I'm getting a lot of pushback from it, but I'm going to continue to keep going forward. My truest goal, and for me, I do want to see more Black marriages, because I feel that we were much stronger when we were working together than being divided. Because if we were working together, if we had more families, more intact, all of this of what you're seeing, you wouldn't see. You wouldn't see that all this in the media that's coming out. These types of things, while they would be happening, I think as society progressed, you wouldn't see it as it is today. Because if you look at who these young men, look at these backgrounds of these young men, you have to wonder if their upbringing was different, would the outcome be different? So okay. I want to see more intact Black families.
So some men, you have a comment, being assertive gets the police called on you. So is there a way to be assertive and not be on that path?
You're going to have some women who might call the police on you, but I mean, you got phones, you can record your behavior. But if you're dealing with a woman who is just a bad character, you need to there's nothing you can do. You just need to remove yourself. So men need to remove themselves from women who are just a bad character. Women who are just a little bit mouthy and they're trainable. You can be assertive to those women and stand your ground. And I do understand that there is that fear of the police being called on you. But you just have to know what type of woman you're dealing with. And the type that's going to call the police, those are the type you don't want to deal with. And they pretty much let themselves be known. So I'm like, you guys have to be aware that there are just some women out here that are just trash. And I know that's harsh for a woman to say that, but there are some women out here that are just trash, and you don't have to deal with those women. You can just push them to the side altogether. Leave them to the men who like to deal with them.
Okay. Any last words you want to say?
I'm just glad that we had this conversation, that you gave me a chance to speak. I enjoyed that. It was very cordial and very professional. Your chat room is crazy though. I see some of y'all, but it's all good. We're going to get this thing together. That's my mission. We're going to get it together to where men and women, Black women and Black men, are going to be able to be harmonious with one. And it may not, even if it doesn't happen in my lifetime, in some way, future generations, maybe my daughter's lifetime or her children, if she chooses to have any, that lifetime, you will see Black families intact once again.
Okay. Sorry, I just so I know people think it's extreme. Even guys think I'm extreme, but men are going to, since women want protection and provision, men are going to have to take more of a caveman approach and put up some serious boundaries. And if you don't like it, then walk, go away.
Correct.
And you know what? Men do have the right, if they want to have sex, and if women want to be delusional about it, they'll just keep claiming to be a victim and getting hurt. So women need to help other women believe that two things. One is most of them are not as good in bed as they think, and you know,
Women,
saying I'm a freak can be often code word for I'm really lousy, so I just do things to cover up the fact that I'm incompetent, right? Sexually incompetent. And women, the more guys they sleep around with, the less they ever develop relationship skills.
correct.
And women think relationship skills is just some illusion or just some kind of code word that I'm trying to manipulate. In your job, you need skills, not just etiquette and professionalism. You need skills in accounting, engineering, project management. I don't care what it is. You need skills in engaging that person. And a man is not just there to plant a seed and give you a baby, because like it or not, that baby is a liability. $250,000 is going to cost me till you're 18, and I get no return on that. So as a woman, the conversation where I ask the question, men build civilizations, what do women do to make life easier? Women need to start wrapping their head around that question and coming up with some ways to answer that. And if that means being more pleasant 24/7 walking down the street, that's what it means. But what's working now isn't working, and a man can create children with a woman from anywhere on the planet. You don't need women in the U.S. The U.S. women make up, U.S. population is about 5% of the world population. That means you have access to 95% of the women in the world. So some messages need to go across clearly that men ain't going for it anymore. And I understand that a lot of older dudes still try to kowtow and hell, they might as well bend over and let a woman put on a strap on. And if women want those guys, you can have them. So never was my intent to slap you around and beat you up. If you had that experience, well, I hope you enjoyed it.
I did. Thank you. No, I didn't. I think you handled conducted yourself very well.
And
I can't say the same for your chat room though.
No, they love having you here.
Yeah, no, I don't think they like me at all.
They enjoy listening to you and your twins talk about relationships.
Oh my gosh.
So, hey guys, I don't know if we had any women in the chat. It looks like it was all guys. If we had women watching, I guess they didn't have the spine to step in. And I know there was a woman who had a comment about me having a woman who was going to speak for all Black women. I invited her to join. It looks like she didn't. So, hey guys, always love your support. If you haven't caught me on Patreon, catch me over there. Always look for any of your support. LeTisha, if someone wants to contact you for your services for matchmaking, how do they get a hold of you?
They can go to my website at www.twoheartsexclusive.com. That's TWOHERTSXCLUSIVE.com. Or you can email me at twoheartsexclusive@gmail.com.
Okay, perfect. Hey guys, thanks a lot. I'll be back. Don't miss me on Sunday with a straight talk. We'll be here at Sunday evening at 7 o'clock, and we do it differently. We have more of a panel kind of discussion. Let's get ready to rumble. Sometimes we rumble on that one. So love to have you there for your support. Until then, take care, everyone. Have a good day. Goodbye. Thanks a lot, Rashid.